ABC Sport. AFL.
Get set for the deafening roar. The pent-up emotion is about to flow.
Listen to the crowd roar.
AFL.
Fans are on their feet. Can't believe what they're about to see.
The 2021 AFL Premiership Season.
Grandstand AFL.
We've got a game on our hands here. This is really good, fierce stuff.
This is a fantastic game of football. Someone told me there was something wrong with our game. I can't see it today. Actually, it's a spectacular contest.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming.
Oh, the impossible angle!
Sinners, keep on sinning.
Don't go anywhere. The theatre of it all.
Winners, keep on winning.
And he dribbles one through and blows a kiss to the crowd.
Just a new day beginning.
Breaks the paint. Has a shot. Makes no mistake.
Sends it for home. A sublime strike.
Hard against the boundary. That's a classy finish.
That is sensational. Can he slide it through for the finish? Yes, he can.
Wide angle on the paint of 50. May have just snuffed through an incredible goal. Tries the bend off. Got him. Takes him to ground. Back to that Nui. Second, don't argue.
Go to your best players. Go to your match winners.
Plays on man down from behind. Holding the ball.
Perfect tackle.
It might be a game saver.
Dreamers, keep on dreaming.
Ricochets to Martin. You know the rest. The razzle-dazzle has arrived.
That is spectacular.
It's a new day, new day, new day beginning.
Osborne kicks the goal. Welcome to the big time.
Oh, the great mark.
Outside of the boot, Eddie. Oh, he has kicked it. Makes no mistake. Goes back.
Straightens up towards goal and brings it back superbly. Here's that familiar roar. Double fist salute to the crowd. They might have a new fan favourite. He'll snap. He'll go. A ripper from Gripper. Snaps on the single step and bends it through.
Grandstand AFL.
The 2021 AFL Premiership Season.
Dribbles it through and ends the game.
On ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
In yet another week of COVID chaos across the country, the Crows have found a home away from home at Docklands of all places, as they host Hawthorn at an empty stadium in round 19 of the 2021 season. Adelaide is aiming to break a 4-game losing streak. They come in 16th, one spot above Hawthorn, which drew to Melbourne last week. And you cast your mind back to round 6, it was Tasmania. And these two sides played out a thriller, a shootout down in the Apple Isle, 102 to 99. The Crows kicked 16 goals, 3, and couldn't get across the line. They went down by 3 points. They'll be seeking some revenge here under the roof in Melbourne this evening. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia, and Broken Hill on ABC Sport Digital. Joel Peterson with you on a cool Saturday night in Melbourne. The roof is closed here at Docklands. It is an empty stadium as Adelaide hosts Hawthorn here in Melbourne. Nathan Van Berlo from the Crows to join us very shortly to take us into the inner sanctum of all things Adelaide. Calling the action alongside me this evening is Jess Webster. G'day, Jess.
G'day, Joel. It's a real privilege to be here, given so much of the country is in lockdown at the moment. We're very lucky to have games of footy in Melbourne. After what has been such a distracting week for both sides for different reasons, I'm really looking forward to seeing who can put all of that aside and which one of these young sides can really seize the moment and get over the line tonight. I think whoever does get the 4 points will feel very satisfied indeed. Yeah,
absolutely. It's a good point you make. No community football in South Australia this weekend, and the same here in Victoria. So hopefully the company of the radio this evening can give you some solace through lockdown. Stephen Marshall today with only one more COVID case in Adelaide saying that things look to be on the up. The same here in Victoria with 12 new cases, 10 of which were in isolation during their infectious period. So hopefully the corner is turning, at least in these two states, as far as the COVID situation goes. The best place to keep up to date with all that news, of course, is via ABC News, and we'll keep you across it throughout our coverage across the weekend and all throughout the week. The umpires are out on the ground here at Docklands. We're in good hands as far as our experts on Grandstand AFL as well this evening. St Kilda champion Nathan Burke is with us. G'day, Burkie.
Hello, Joel. Jess, great to be here. I'm loving this. We're right above the coaches' boxes here. So I'm thinking if there's any listeners out there who generally like to give players some advice over the offence, they can't do it tonight because they're not here, just text it through. I'm happy to yell out and let the players know your thoughts.
It's we quite often joke about having a direct line to the coaching box. We almost do tonight. We don't need any technology to set that up. It's almost like the old-fashioned stringing a couple of cans as the Crows run out onto the ground this evening, led by Rory Sloane. And they go through their warm-ups. AFL legend, of course, Hawthorn legend this evening to give us the Hawks side of things to an extent. David Parkin's with us as well on Grandstand AFL. G'day, Parko.
G'day, Joel and Jess and Nath. It's a huge game, isn't it? I think the loser probably will win the wooden spoon the way that we saw North play today. And their form over the last couple of months has been brilliant, I think. They've just got better and better. So one of these teams, if they go under tonight, might find themselves in that precarious position of being last on the ladder. And you wouldn't want to be the wooden spooner in this particular year.
It's an interesting point you make. Of course, North Melbourne, 18 premiership points with the draw to GWS. Hawthorn with the draw to Melbourne last week have 18 premiership points, and Adelaide with 20. Collingwood also with 20, having played 18 games. So there is a glut of sides at the bottom of the table duking it out for potentially a number 1 pick, potentially a number 3 pick. How far the Suns and everything land. It's an interesting battle at the top of the table and for the final spot, I guess, and also at the bottom of the table as far as that number 1 pick goes for this season as well. We'll get your thoughts on everything that's happening as far as Hawthorn go very shortly, Parker, because they're in an interesting position at the moment. But let's head inside the Adelaide camp. Nathan Van Berlo has been good enough to join us, their midfield coach, as they prepare to take on Hawthorn this evening. And Nathan, it's been a pretty wild week for your team. It must be nice to finally have game day here and preparing to get into things this evening.
Yeah, it has been a very different build-up of the game, but thankfully it happened on Tuesday, the vast majority of it, so we've been able to settle in the latter part of this week, and now it feels like a normal build-up into a game. So, slightly disrupted week, but we've learned probably over the last 18 months to roll with that, and here we are, Saturday night footy, so the boys are looking forward to it.
You've still got a pretty young crew that you're working with. Is there a sense of energy among those younger players and that sort of seeps into some of the older players when you're presented with a challenge like this?
Oh, it certainly does. You only probably have to look around the hotel at the moment. A lot of our older guys who probably leave behind some kids and wives and partners back in Adelaide, and then a lot of the younger guys who probably have no responsibility back in Adelaide. They're excited to be away with each other. They're got plenty of energy. They just enjoy each other's company, and not saying the older guys don't as well, but it's almost a breath of fresh air for the young guys to get together and spend some time with each other, because hopefully for the next 10 years they're together as a group, and they're starting to really bond together as a group, which is pleasing.
And no crowd here at Docklands tonight. It's a situation that you were faced with in round 1 last year, and really it's not something that Adelaide, in the fortunate position that South Australia's been in COVID-wise, has had to deal with too much over the last little while. Has that been addressed in the build-up in any way that the players will need to bring a little bit more of sense of their own energy out there tonight, or is it something you just let them deal with as the game goes on?
No, we just had our team meeting prior to the boys going out on ground to warm up, and Nixie mentioned exactly that. He said it's going to be a very different atmosphere out there. Obviously, no crowd, and it's actually our home game in Melbourne at Marvel Stadium, which is quite unique in itself. So, what we do know is we've got hundreds of thousands of supporters that will be tuning in to the game back in Adelaide and be cheering us on. So, while we can't directly get their support, what we're going to try and do is create our own atmosphere out there and connect with each other. So hopefully, the boys, it will be unique for them, but hopefully they can build their own atmosphere through the way that we play.
Nathan, good luck tonight, mate. Look, we remember you as running around playing for the Adelaide Crows for all those years. You've stepped into the coaching box. What's your actual role with the coaches?
So I'm midfield coach this year. This is my first year back at Adelaide. I've spent the previous 3 years over at West Coast doing a midfield role over there as well. So it was nice to get back after all those years in Adelaide, to get back to Perth and spend some time with my family, and now back in Adelaide again with I guess the remainder of my family, what is my newfound family. So it's great to be back where it all started, and I feel like we have for the large part of this year been building really strongly to an exciting future for the footy club.
Yeah, you look at probably a player who made a name for himself out of the midfield in Rory Laird, doing amazing stuff, but also Ben Keys, coming from another club. Wasn't a high-profile recruit by any stretch of the imagination, but he's really stepped up to become quite a damaging midfielder. Yeah,
look, for both of those guys, they've had probably a bit of different journeys coming to the midfield at Adelaide, and we know Lairdy's played a large number of years down back and All-Australian down back as well. So late last year, they rolled him up into the midfield, and he's been like a duck to water, really. So he's just been able to still generate his own footy around the ball, and continues to develop his game as a midfielder. And he certainly has noticed a difference in, I guess, the combativeness of being a midfielder compared to being a defender, and he's adjusted really well to that. And Ben Keys, who you touched on, I mean, you only have to see him, the way that he works behind closed doors and out in the training track. He's one of the hardest workers that we've got, and he's a super pro, so it's no surprise to me from seeing him up close and personal that he's able to get the best out of himself, and he's able to perform like he has done each week this year, because he's got pride in his performance, but he works his backside off every day of the week. So good example.
Yeah, great. Now, you're coming up against Tommy Mitchell tonight. Now, as a midfield coach, are you one who's not, devoid of actually applying a tagger or a run with, or do you prefer your guys to go out there and just beat their opponent? Where does your mind set in that sphere of choices that you've got?
Yeah, look, I guess the bigger picture of things, we're sort of coaching a midfield that hopefully can be accountable to their direct opponents, and there won't be a strong need to be tagging someone essentially. But we're still going through that growing phase as a midfield group, and the last couple of weeks we have had some accountable roles through there. So we may look to go to that tonight off the back of what we've been able to build on the last few weeks, and saying a couple of weeks ago we had Harry Schonberg running around with Darcy Parish and did a good job, and last week with Ben Keys did a strong role on Elliot Yeo for the most part too. So it was some strings we're looking to add to guys' bows, and as I said, long term we want to be an accountable midfielder.
Nathan Van Berlo from the Crows with us before they take on the Hawks tonight at Docklands. Harry Schonberg's one you mentioned there, Nathan. He played on Darcy Parish a couple of weeks ago. He played really well against West Coast last week. His performances were highlighted at Matthew Nix's press conference during the week. He's one that looks to be really growing into things in his second year at the club.
Yeah, he is. He continues to develop, Harry. He's probably come from a fair way back when we first drafted him, and his ability now just to keep adding a different dynamic to our midfield. He's probably more the outside run, got the ability to break lines, and his skill level's going to be very good down the track. So it's been pretty exciting for us as coaches to see him develop this year, and I think our fans are pretty excited by what they see of Harry. But while he's still young in his career, he's got a lot of growing to go, but been really happy with how he's developed, the season to date.
And, of course, when you met earlier in the season, these two teams, a three-point thriller down in Tasmania. You kicked 16 goals, 3 that game. Riley Thilthorpe, who's not out there, he really had a breakout performance. Of course, he re-signed during the week, which is great news for the club. But hoping that you can be on the right side of things tonight. What do you think you have to do differently to that performance to turn the result around against the Hawks this evening?
Yeah, look, last time we were really pleased with how he played for probably 3 quarters, to be honest. In the last quarter, we probably weren't as, predictable as we needed to be with each other, and we didn't execute some fundamentals of our game plan, particularly when it got tight, and then the Hawks were able to obviously snatch the 3-point win, as you said. So we feel like we've grown and we've connected better as a group since then. But it's going to be a big battle for the midfield, I feel, today with the contest work, and then there's some inexperience at both ends of the ground for both teams, so it's going to be a good display of what's to come for both clubs, but there's still a few experienced heads out there. So hopefully we've had some good learnings over the last few weeks, and especially last time we played them, and we can make amends for last time.
There's plenty of promise on both sides of the equation this evening. Nathan Van Berlo, thanks for your time on Grandstand AFL. All the very best of luck for tonight.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.
The former Crows captain Nathan Van Berlo with us on Grandstand AFL. The Crows and the Hawks here at Docklands under the roof. Thankful that it's under the roof because it looks pretty wet outside in Melbourne. It's been teeming down across town at the MCG where the Dogs are taking on Melbourne in the top of the table clash. It's the Bulldogs by 4 points in the early stages of that game. We'll keep you pretty close to that one this evening as we go throughout on Grandstand AFL. Of course, earlier today, North Melbourne defeated Carlton by 39 points. Brisbane ran over the top of the Gold Coast by 49 and West Coast hung on against St Kilda in the game that you've just come from by 8 points. This afternoon, there are no late changes to either side here this evening. The medical sub for Adelaide, David McKay, and for Hawthorn, Sean Burgoyne. So the two veterans getting the designation as the sub for this evening's game. Nathan Burke and David Parkin are your experts on Grandstand AFL. Parko, the Hawks this evening. It's been an interesting week with rumours swirling around about the coaching situation. Sam Mitchell's come out during the week and cleared the air, so too has Alistair Clarkson at a pretty lengthy media conference yesterday afternoon. What are you expecting to see from the Hawks? Because good win against GWS a couple of weeks ago, then they couldn't back that performance up. Then they were very good against Melbourne last week. They've been pretty encouraging over the last month or so.
I think that's a very good summation of what is in fact happening. When you look at these two sides, I think 14 Adelaide and 10 Hawthorn players, that's 24 players are going to be on the ground tonight out of the 36 or 38, whatever it is, all less than 100 games. So both clubs are going through a serious rebuild at the moment. If you think anything else when you don't understand the game. And I've been most impressed by what they've said publicly, what they've been able to deliver on the field. And I would think the 4 points are, important to them both. The win tonight will be important to both. But the more important part is that when they finish the 100 minutes tonight, that we're both looking and say, we've seen development in X, Y and Z. And I think this will be one of those games. I'm pleased that it's under the roof and that we'll see some reasonable football. I said the struggle at the MCG in these conditions wouldn't be much fun, A, to play or B, to watch. But I think, Berkey, we've got some young talent here, which to me, getting older, but young talent to me is very exciting stuff to watch.
It is, David, and the average age of both teams is 23.
Yep.
The average games played by Adelaide is 63 and Hawthorn is 76, and that difference is purely Sean Burgoyne. One man is 13 games average difference. And the age too.
Yes, absolutely. So Dave McKay's played the most games of any active Adelaide player at 244. Sean Burgoyne's got him covered by 189 or 179 games. So
it's only 9 years of playing.
That's a fairly large discrepancy.
It's been a remarkable career, hasn't it? I mean, if you think about going to watch people play over the period of time he's been in the game, there's no better, in my opinion, entertainer in the manner which he plays his football, his consistency, his versatility in being able to play back, forward or middle.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing, not just for the Indigenous community which he represents, but for football full stop. Sean Burgoyne has been an absolute gem for all of us.
Yep, good South Australian as well from Port Lincoln, and of course plied his trade for the Power before moving to Hawthorn and being so successful. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you on Grandstand AFL this evening. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia, Broken Hill, and of course on ABC Sport Digital. Nathan Burke and David Parkin. First of all, Berkey, how do you think this one plays out this evening? Who are you tipping?
It's going to be tight. I'm going to play the Hawks. Saw the Hawks last week draw against the top team, so they're coming in with some really good form. It's going to be a little bit of a midfield battle for me. Interesting to see Schoenberg go to the bench. I'd like him to start out there and put a bit of pressure on a Mitchell or an Amira or someone like that, and just make it a bit of a scrap in there, David.
Oh yeah, I'm with you. In fact, I thought that's what they would do. I hear in the interview prior to the game that everybody's responsible for everybody, but there are still players, in my opinion, who don't like that extra attention, and people who play off them or play on them and then off them really can hurt them. So it'll be interesting to see how they'll structure up, how their method will be used to slow down some of these very, very good midfielders.
Who are you taking, Parko?
I'm taking the Hawks too.
The Hawks. So the Hawks for both of our experts. Ben McAvoy's won the toss. Hawthorn kicking to the Coventry end. Two sides with plenty of promise. What can they show this evening under the roof here at Docklands on Grandstand AFL? Here's Jess Webster.
Saturday night footy at the Docklands, and Hawthorn captain Ben McAvoy starting at full forward, so Reeves is in the ruck. He wins the tap. Warple goes without it. Coming through is Mitchell for the Hawks. Off the deck goes Keys of Adelaide. And Laird picks up the footy. He handballs to Reeves, who slaps it down. It's still a scrap inside the centre square, and the umpire calls for a ball up.
He's a big unit, that Reeves, isn't he?
Isn't he? Well, he's dominated the hit-outs over the last few weeks.
And in there and battling with Riley O'Brien this evening. O'Brien wins the tap. Keys goes off the ground in the mess in the centre of the ground. O'Brien picks it up, hacks it forward for the Crows. A bouncing ball in front of Murphy. Battles Bramble for the footy, picked up by Walker, who's got a Hawthorn player riding him like a bucking bronco. Coming over the top was Blake Hardwick. It was like a rodeo clown trying to drive Tex.
Great description, Joel.
Into the ground. It comes to ground at half forward from the stoppage, and the Hawks take it away. Mitchell shares the handball, a kick around the body is turned over, and Hamill's got it for Adelaide just forward of the broadcast wing.
It's a crowded forward 50. He just pops a kick inside the arc, and Frost drops the mark for Hawthorn. He regathers, handballs to Hardwick at right half forward. Nice kick, finds Warple in space, dishes it off to Mitchell, who has a bit of room to move it right half back for the Hawks. Handballs to Cousins in the middle of Docklands Stadium. He'll send the Hawks inside 50. It's a low kick, falls at the feet of Bruce. He handballs out wide to Cousins. He's got a man in support in Howe, just inside forward 50, loads up, has a shot to the teeth of goal. Running back is Howe. He couldn't quite collect it. In fact, it was more, and it is a minor score. The first of the evening goes to Hawthorn. One behind plays the Crows, yet to score. 2 minutes played in the opening term.
A good ball movement there. If they had had probably a better forward than Ben McAvoy trying to be the one leading, they might have got a shot on goal.
Jones brings it into the city side for the Crows. Goes through the hands of Reeves, who outpointed O'Brien in the contest. Spills to the back of the pack. Laird at half-back. Shares the handball with Smith. Tumbles it up the wing. Sloan. Nifty handball over the top to Murphy, who unsightedly handballs backward over his head, looking for Himmelberg, who lopes after the football. Murphy goes back and picks it up. Free kick's been paid off the footy. Advantage to the Crows. Chipped over the top now to Himmelberg at right half forward. Low kick inside the arc finds Walker. Texas got it 40 out. Tighter than a 45-degree angle, and will be marched to the goal square. 50 metres for Tex Walker, who does exactly that.
Was that a disagreement between the two Hawks as to who should be taking the mark? Is that what happened then?
I'm not sure whether it was Hardigan just getting too close on the run past.
And Tex just slots it, an unguarded goal, and opens the scoring here at Docklands. One straight 6, the Crows. Hawthorn one behind through 3 minutes of the opening term. A 50-metre penalty, and Taylor Walker the beneficiary.
Just trying to have a look here at what the actual 50 metres was for. It was good ball use by Adelaide and Himmelberg getting involved. It might have just been Hardigan, I think, just running too close on the way past.
Yep, no, you're right. That's a good call. Just can't afford it, can you? I mean, that's a gimme goal.
Yeah, kills you early on.
So the Crows strike first in their home away from home here at Docklands in Melbourne, as O'Brien and Reeves will contest the ruck again in the centre. The umpire cautious on his approach and now slams the ball into the turf. O'Brien palms it down in the path of Laird. He throws it on the boot towards half forward. McHenry slips over and Frost of Hawthorn takes the easy mark, and he's quick to run off. Long kick down the outer wing. Bruce in a one-on-one against Kelly. It falls to ground. Bruce gathers. He just palms one off and then lets go of the footy. Trickles towards half forward, and the players dive on it. And we will have a ball up left half forward for Hawthorn.
I have to say, Bruce is one of the best small men in terms of skill level and dexterity. That he's just fantastic to watch.
Been a marvel for the Hawks over so many years. Ball up at left half forward for Hawthorn. Smith took it off the pack for the Crows. Somehow got it away to Sloan, who tumbles one up the outer wing. It'll be taken by Frost for Hawthorn between the wing and half forward. He chips looking for Howe, and Brodie Smith is in there to intervene. Played well in his 200th game last week. He's got it at right half back. Leads the AFL in metres gained. No exception here as he whacks it down the outer side wing. O'Brien led Himmelberg to the footy. Big fly, couldn't reel it in. He's dived upon at ground level by Fogarty. Centre of the city side wing here at Docklands. A free kick has been picked out there by Nathan Toner. It'll go the way of Adelaide. And it'll be Ned McHenry who'll take it. Smack bang on centre wing on the outer side. The Crows bite with a 5-point lead through 5 minutes of the opening term.
McHenry kicks backwards to Seedsman, who goes back further to Butts inside defensive 50. Kicks out wide to Jones, left half back for the Crows. Kick down the wing, didn't quite have the carry to Kelly, and coming in with the important touch was Moore of Hawthorn. Forces a boundary throw-in just forward of the interchange gates.
Well done by Moore. It's always tough going back with a flight of the ball, but did it really well. Didn't hesitate.
So the umpire flicks it back in. Reeves and O'Brien falls at their feet. Mitchell picks it up, handballs backwards to Shields. He can't gather it. Murphy jumps on top of him and should force another neutral between wing and half forward for the Adelaide Crows.
O'Brien and Reeves entangle themselves in ruck. They share the honours. Murphy takes the tap cleanly for the Crows. Left foot kick to full forward. O'Brien across to knock it away from Walker, but Fogarty does the roving in the left forward pocket and bounces one home. And that will bring some joy to the Adelaide fans, so invested in this young man's fortunes. The Crows with the first 2 of the game, 2 straight 12. Hawthorn 1 behind. And that was a nice opportunist finish from Darcy Fogarty. Not necessarily his bread and butter, but a nice bit of roving from the big man.
Yeah, look at 194 centimetres and being under heaps of pressure from his right side. Looked like a little bloke putting it away, didn't he? He's certainly got some talent, that young man.
Doesn't miss too often either,
No,
Darcy Fogarty. Career goes to 44 goals, 10.
That's not a bad effort.
The vast majority would have come from set shots. He kicked a beauty against West Coast last week, hard up against the boundary line, but when he gets a side on the big sticks, he is absolutely lethal.
Especially these days when half the players can't hit the side of a barn.
So McAvoy's moved into the ruck for Hawthorn. A tap down, McAvoy goes in and gets it again. Handballs to Mitchell, handballs to Wingard, and ends up back with Mitchell, still inside the centre square. Hand passes to Bramble, who runs to half forward, kicks Hawthorn into attack. Coming out in front is Duday, taking an excellent intercept mark, is what he is renowned for, and he can rebound the ball for the Adelaide Crows.
Again, Hawthorn lacked a centre forward. They've got Tim O'Brien playing down the defensive end. That was a fast break through the middle of the ground. You've got Warple coming out of the square, and his defender's going to dictate that play every single time.
The Hawks bring it out through Seedsman and Schonberg to Tom Lynch. Back to Schonberg. Handball to Seedsman. Flicks it over his head looking for Keys, and Wingard spins through the traffic. Did he give a high fend there? No, it was off the footy going to Paul Seedsman. He was dealt with by Tim O'Brien. So the short-sleeved Paul Seedsman this evening, still in the bright yellow boots, cuts one across the centre corridor, and it's a poor kick, and it's not often you say that. Dylan Moore pinches it for the Hawks, and he's away. Looks inside the 50, kicks to the pocket, wanting Kajitsky, ran past it, Butts got there for the Crows. Kajitsky drove him into the turf. A terrific tackle from the young forward. Locks the footy up in the left forward pocket for Hawthorn, and will have a ball up.
Just as well he got back to. He started in the lead to the ball. The ball was kicked well to him, but he was absolutely annihilated in the contest.
So Hawthorn in attack from the throw up. The ball trickles over the boundary line, and we will have a throw in about 30 metres around from Hawthorn's goal.
I heard Jason Dunstall today lamenting that leading at the player coming forward is a lost art, and from what we've seen today, I have to agree with him.
Absolutely.
So Lewis front spot from the throw in. It falls to Wingard. Snap around the corner to the teeth of goal. Off hands, goes across the face of goal, and it will be a boundary throw in. This time next to the right behind post for Hawthorn, 5 metres around from their goal.
And it's easy. It's just as good to watch as if something jumping on somebody's head, in my opinion. It's a fabulous part of Australian footy.
Crows by 11 points, 9 gone opening term. Ball tossed back in deep forward for the Hawks. Knocked toward the goal square. Kajitsky tumbles through. Taken by Butts. Extricated by Sloan. Handball to Scholl. Handball to Keys. Defensive hand pass to Duday, who goes one way and the other at the top of the defensive goal square. Just squeezed his kick away under pressure from Wingard. Got it outside the defensive 50. Bramble there for the Hawks. Shows them a clean pair of heels. Gets to 45. Kicks to the top of the square to the biggest man on the ground just about in Riley O'Brien. He could have been well within his rights to light up the sticks, Lockie Bramble, and he pulled the kick to the top of the goal square, and Adelaide will come out here through Tom Lynch, who's got it in the left back pocket. He chips short to Seedsman, and Paul Seedsman's away off half back again.
wants to switch it across the ground. He's got Scholl all on his own at right half back. Chips it forward where McPherson has a bit of space close to the boundary line. And he's forced just to hold it up momentarily. Short kick on the 45 is a good one to Schonberg. And he has McPherson running for him. Another short pass to Scholl. Adelaide have advanced to the wing. Dishes it off to McPherson. Now the long kick inside 50. Fogarty wins front spot against Frost and takes the contested mark. 40 metres out from goal.
See, every time I see him play, he's getting better and better. He takes in the air what he should at that size, comes at the ball with great courage and skill. And if he goes back now, he will have kicked 2 vital goals to get this game started for the Adelaide Crows.
So kicked a ripper goal from the pocket earlier in this quarter. This for his second goal and for Adelaide's third straight to start this contest at Docklands. Fogarty lets go from 40 metres. The umpire does a bit of work, but that is through. Fogarty has 2 and Adelaide have the jump on Hawthorn here at Docklands Stadium. 3 straight 18. Hawthorn 1 behind. 11 minutes played opening term.
Fogarty's a guy who's got the ability to actually take a game apart and really kick 6 goals and end up with 24 possessions and kick 5. And we haven't actually seen it yet. Off to a good start so far. He's kicked a set shot and a lovely snap from the pocket. So tonight may be that night.
Yeah, look, we talked about him in 194 centres, but he's been just on 100 kilos as well. So he's a decently put together young man.
From Lucendale in southeastern South Australia.
The home of Andrew McKay, who played at Hawthorn.
Yes. Good stock. From down that way, isn't it?
He's got a son that plays pretty well now too.
And a daughter, of course,
and a daughter,
for the Blues in Abbey.
Right. Yep.
Another great product of South Australian footy. Crows with the early running from the restart. Keys gave it to Laird, who kicked toward half forward. McHenry went up and couldn't take it. Murphy helped him out. They share a couple of hand passes and eventually it's worked to Scholl for Adelaide. Kicks inside the forward 50. Scrimshaw had a go, couldn't take the mark. 45 out from the Crows' goal, it's locked up. Keys is in there to tackle. And we'll have a ball up, 47 metres out from the Adelaide goal at the Lockett end here at Docklands. You can hear the runner barking out instructions from beneath us in this empty stadium this evening. It really provides the soundtrack to the footy in these COVID times. Mitchell tumbles one outside the defensive 50 for the Hawks. It'll come back in though for the Crows through Elliot Himmelberg.
The Crows by 17 points as Himmelberg kicks to the teeth of goal. Reeves had a good piece of that one. The umpire has in fact paid the mark to relieve some of the pressure for Hawthorn. He handballs off to Hardwick, who kicks out wide to Bramble. From right half back, Bramble kicks Hawthorn to the wing. Lewis had a attempt at a fly, and in the end it was a push in the back. Just didn't quite get the elevation when going for that mark, and he's given away the free kick. Kelly for the Crows kicks inboard and finds Schonberg.
Across town at the MCG, Tim English has just kicked a goal for the Dogs. They lead 3-4 to 1-4, so 3-2 to 1-4, sorry. A 10-point lead the way of the Western Bulldogs over Melbourne. The Crows switch it here. Scholl, a nervous moment, almost dropped the ball trying to get it to his boot. Chase Jones bailed him out, but then his handball went missing.
Go forward.
Howe takes it for the Hawks. Handball off to Brockman, 47 metres out. Kicks to full forward. Bruce can't mark. Butts rushes back there to knock it away from him. Seeks the safety of the boundary line and finds it in the left forward pocket for Hawthorn. Good desperate to start stuff from the young defender.
Good call, Joe. They were done, gone. It was a fantastic reversal.
Crows with the only 3 goals of the game, lead by 17. Ball spins back into play. McAvoy has a go. Frampton's in there in his new defensive role for the Crows tonight after such a good performance in the Sandfall last week, and a ball up 25 out from the Hawthorn goal.
So Himmelberg against McAvoy. McAvoy wins it, tries to find Bruce, he runs past it. Now Kajitsky goes in and has a go, flicks it out off the deck by the Crows. Kelly gathers it. He can't quite collect it. Now Schonberg goes in. He's dispossessed by Mitchell. The ball ricochets, ends up with Warple, who has a right foot step towards goal, and there is Hawthorn. Hawthorn's first.
He's the luckiest man in Australia.
A bit fortuitous it was for Warple, but a goal is a goal when Hawthorn are on the board. Adelaide 3 straight 18, Hawthorn 1-1-7. We played nearly 15 minutes in the opening term.
That's a very good call, Jess, because he was the luckiest man in Australia, standing minding his own business in the corridor, and a ball came in from the angle and ricocheted off, I reckon, a shin or a foot or something, didn't it? And it came back up the middle of the corridor perfectly. He did put it away under somewhat pressure, but it was fortuitous, I think is the word.
Stats-wise, things are fairly even at the moment. The only one is that Adelaide have taken 23 marks to Hawthorn's 6. From the Hawks, I want to just clamp down on those little short ones a little bit better than what they are.
Inside 50s at this moment. I think about the same, aren't they? I think they are.
Nathan Burke and David Parkin, your experts on Grandstand AFL.
5 to Hawthorn, 6 to Adelaide.
Yeah.
Matildas trail 3-2 to Sweden halfway through the second half, so about 23 minutes to go in that game. It's been a rollicking old affair in the second of the Matildas games at the Tokyo Olympics. We'll keep you across that one throughout the course of the evening. The Hawks take it away from the stoppage. Kick hems the boundary line to Mitch Lewis, who takes it just inside, according to the boundary umpire, between the wing and half forward on the dock side of the ground. Lewis loads up inside forward 50. Looking for Kajitsky. Kelly a fist for the Crows, and then Brockman got a boot to it. Umpire said it came off his knee, in fact, because it did go out of bounds on the full, so he was maybe a little bit lucky. And it goes out for a throw-in. Right forward pocket for Hawthorn. They trail by 11 points. The Crows with the first 3 goals of the game before Warple found the answer for the Hawks.
So Lewis wins front spot against O'Brien. Coming through Seasman for the Crows, but he's coughed it up to Wingard. He gets the hands free. Bruce comes in, collects it, hands it to Cousins. Handball to the top of the square. Lewis gets boot to ball, but standing in the goal square is Seasman of the Crows. Handballs into the path of Schonberg. He keeps it alive. Scholl's kick is smothered, though, by Phillips, and we will have a boundary throw in 20 metres around from the Hawthorn goal.
Sam Kerr lining up for a penalty. Joel, I'll keep you informed.
There's been plenty happening in that game.
Yeah, has there ever.
Margin 11 points. Hawthorn still into attack from the throw-in. Seedsman gets boot to ball, doesn't go very far. Ends up with Phillips. Left foot snap around the corner, bouncing goal. That's a goal.
Oh, it's done a huge off break.
Fantastic skill there shown by Phillips. The Hawks get 2 in a row and cut the margin back to 5 points. Adelaide 3 straight 18. Hawthorn 2-1-13. 17 and a half gone in the first quarter.
Yes, great call. Left foot over his right shoulder into the corridor, and it's done a left-hand break at right angles to go through. He meant to do that? Well, he did mean to do it, but he had no idea that it was going to happen that way.
That was a great goal, but a poor penalty free kick from Sam Kerr, who pretty much kicked it straight at the Swedish goalkeeper. Stays 3-2 in favour of Sweden.
Olympic updates with Nathan Burke on Grandstand AFL. It's like you're there in Tokyo, Burkie. Here at Docklands, the Hawks with back-to-back goals. And it's a 5-point margin. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you. David Parkin and Nathan Burke, your experts. Great to have your company on ABC Radio, Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill. Textbook stuff from the Crows from the restart. Laird bursts away from the stoppage. Launches inside the forward 50. Murphy takes it off hands for Adelaide. Handball went looking for Berry. Couldn't find him. A calamitous turnover. Tom Lynch pinches the handball and strolls into an open goal. James Cousins picked the footy up in the defensive 50 for Hawthorn, tried to switch the play. Lynch was wise to it and slammed it through from 20 metres out going the other way. The Crows with the instant reply to Hawthorn's second go to 4 straight 24. They lead by 11 points. Hawthorn 2-1-13 through 19 minutes of the opening term.
2 people just had a heart attack. One was the fellow who hand passed it and the other one was the coach. Couldn't believe that. You couldn't have got a better, running at right angles in the corridor towards the goals. He couldn't have received a better pass from his teammate.
Yeah, it kills you when you work really, really hard for a goal like Hawthorn did, get one finally through Phillips, and within the next 15 seconds they give away a cheap one. It can really dampen your spirits.
So margin 11 points going the Crows' way, heading into time 1 in the opening term is from the restart. Reeves wins the tap straight down the throat of Amira, but he's tackled immediately by Schonberg.
it's a terrific contest, the two big ruckmen. Really has a couple of out of the middle into the arms of their men. It's fabulous to watch.
O'Brien and Rees renew acquaintances this time. Punt it down to O'Meara, who's tackled again. And we'll have a third ball up, and we've inched about 10 metres closer to the Adelaide goal.
Quarter time at the MCG. Dogs by 10 points over the Demons. Nathan Toner falls over after balling it up. Finds himself on his backside, but he's able to get away from the stoppage cleanly. So are the Crows. Brodie Smith throws it on the boot from 70 and bounces it home. Out of nowhere, Brodie Smith from inside the centre square has just hacked it forward, and it's wobbled its way every bit of 60 metres through for a goal. Adelaide's got 5 on the board, and as they did in round 6, they're doing it without blemish. 5 straight 30, Hawthorn 2-1-13, 20 minutes gone in the opening term.
Well, the Hawks' setup behind the ball was outstanding because they'd managed to get Scrimshaw to drop off and be that extra player in front of Tex Walker. So, yeah, that's a really good setup. What they didn't bank on was the Adelaide player winning the stoppage, throwing it on his boot and going all of 65 metres right over the whole lot of them.
Brodie Smith's got a good leg on him, but you never expect that.
Oh, no, you don't set up for that sort of kick out of a stoppage.
So, fair to say, we've seen some highlights already in this opening quarter at Docklands. We're back in the middle, and the umpire's found a free kick from the ball up. It's going to go Hawthorn's way for a hold, and the recipient will be O'Meara. Hand passes to Wingard from just inside the centre square. A long kick towards a dangerous spot, and Kaczynski takes a nice mark, and he will line up and have a shot on goal from 25 metres out, a 45-degree angle to the right.
Every now and then he really does come, and he's not hugely tall. He comes at the ball hard, got a strong leap in a straight line, and took a mark against good opposition. And I mean, that shows some real potential to me.
In his first season for the Hawks, he's kicked 21 goals from 16 games so far in 2021. As he lines up, we'll get a good look at this one and make it 22 goals for the year for Jacob Kaczynski, and Hawthorn peg one back. Adelaide 5 straight 30, Hawthorn 4-1-25. 22 minutes played in the opening term.
He's a bit tall. He's 196. I thought he was smaller than that, and he has a very strong. He's very strongly built. If he gets in a straight line and going hard, would be hard to stop, I'd imagine.
Good wingspan too, Parker. Long arms.
Long arms, yeah, that's what appeared to me. He appeared to be playing taller than he is.
Well, these days we've got 200-centimetre wingers. Yeah. So 196 forward, it's not that big.
Yeah, that's true.
It's good to see some straight kicking as well. 5 straight to 3-1. I think last time these two teams played, Adelaide kicked about 12 goals before they managed to behind Joel.
I think they were 14 straight at half time, I reckon. The Crows.
Does help.
Yeah,
it does help.
It certainly does. They kicked 10 goals straight in the second term alone. Yep. So it's pretty impressive work. They got 14 straight at three-quarter time, I think, and they had a couple of blemishes in the last term. On the restart, the Hawks bring it forward here. Cousins goes inside the 50. Kaczynski, the first one was arms outstretched above his head. This time he leads up at the footy, puts the hands out in front of his face and takes it strongly on the lead. 45 out, slight angle left of centre.
He must have heard you ask for that, Bertie.
The window open works well. Yeah. Keep leading forward at the kicker.
Oh, we've had 2 in a row. It's super footy.
It makes it impossible for the defenders. You can't punch the arms, you can't scrag them, you get a free kick, so it takes the defender out of play.
So Jacob Kaczynski looking for his second after winning a Rising Star nomination when he played the Crows earlier in the year. That kick is wayward and short. And Riley O'Brien's there on the behind line to mark for the Crows and awkwardly chip it to Billy Frampton. Back into the side for Adelaide. He's got it in the left back pocket. It is Adelaide 5 straight, Hawthorn 3-1, 24 gone in the opening quarter.
Frampton just blasted out of the danger zone. Contest on the wing. Falls to O'Brien, and that's holding the ball. The umpire was quick to pay it. And Elliot Himmelberg will be the recipient of the free kick for Adelaide. Just forward of left half back for the Crows. Called to play on. So just sends a long kick down the line. Coming through the fifth, Granger Barras for Hawthorn. It falls to Keys of the Crows. Gets the hands free. Handball into space. Phillips for Hawthorn intercepts it. He's coughed it up to O'Brien, but his handball misses its intended target. Trickles over the boundary line, and we will have a throw-in left half forward for Adelaide.
Hawks playing a very tall back line, and you've got Frost running around with little Ned McHenry at certain times.
They've got sort of at least 5 talls down there at certain points. The Hawks. It is a strange mix as Mitchell smashes it out of the stoppage, only as far as Ben Keys. Ricochets back to Phillips for the Hawks. Long left foot kick up the dockside wing. Frampton slaps it down away from Lewis, taken by Berry for the Crows. Handball to Laird, handball to Jones. Jones looks to move it defensively in order to come aggressively forward if they can, but they've been hemmed in here, Adelaide. Scholl's got it at centre half back. He looks wide, an awkward kick for Sloane. He's knocked away by Hardigan, the former 113 game Crow. Knocks it out of play on the outer side, and we'll have it thrown back into play. It is Adelaide by 11 points, 30 plays 19, 25 minutes gone in the opening term. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster with you at Docklands alongside Nathan Burke and David Parker.
O'Brien and McAvoy contest the boundary throw-in. O'Brien wins the footy and just a hurry kick towards half forward, taking a nice contested mark though as Hardigan of Hawthorn.
Aaron Norton with an early goal in the second term for the Dogs, Jess. They lead by 17 points over the D's.
So Crows by 11 points in this one as Hardigan chips short to McAvoy, almost in the centre circles. Short 45-foot pass to Wingard, still inside the centre square, has a runner in Hardwick who sends a long one inside 50 for the Hawks, off hands. The ball spills down to Schonberg, who just hacks it out of there and taking a nice mark as Himmelberg inside the centre square for Adelaide.
Got a nice little rise over Granger Barras there. Chips it short and wide. Scholl eventually takes it. He chips over the top now for Laird, who's on the AFL logo on the city side here at Docklands. An empty stadium this evening, a Crows home game here in Melbourne. Schonberg's got it, kicks on the bounce to Keys. Left foot kick inside the 50, gets out the back of Frost. Fogarty collected it. Handball on. Jones chips it to Murphy, who dropped it in the forward pocket, hooks it around his body toward the goal line. And that floated through, it has. Oh, he mucked up the fundamental and made amends with the spectacular Lockie Murphy from tight on the boundary in the right forward pocket, as if he was floating it home on the breeze. Adelaide have got 6 in the opening term, 6 straight. Hawthorn 3-1-19, 27 minutes gone.
Joel, I think about 12 of his mates ran. I mean, they all recognise what you were calling then. That is a magnificent effort under extreme pressure to get the best result possible.
He didn't even celebrate too much because he knew he mucked up the first one. It was an uncontested mark on the boundary line that he spilled. He sort of got a bit nervous and then threw it over his right shoulder with his left foot and got it through. So in the end, goal of the week, he's actually a bit disappointed with himself.
So 6 straight goals for Adelaide. They haven't all been easy either, and they lead this contest by 17 points in the shadows of quarter time. We're back in the middle, and the umpire's found a block free kick. It's going Hawthorn's way, and Hawthorn players unsure who it was for. It goes to McAvoy in the end. He hand passes to Warple. A kick inside 50 in the path of Lewis. It's off hands, fisted away by Frampton in his new defensive role. The ball spills to Warple. Hawthorn still a chance to send it into attack. Hand passes to Shields. His wobbly kick inside 50, intercepted by Sloane.
Yeah, the skipper's got it. Flares it wide. McHenry's there for the Crows. Shares the handball with Duday coming off right half back. Handball infield to Kelly, and Adelaide are running in waves. Goes inside the 50. Granger Barras attacks it. Knocks it down to Hardwick. Hawthorn can settle off half-back through Shields. Long kick toward the wing. Battling for the football there. That's Cousins who went that was a slide tackle from Chase Jones as if he was in the Ollie Roos side, and Cousins went for the big hack off the ground, and that's as blatant a kicking in danger as you'll see. A rule that's rarely really put into practice these days, and that one was as clear as day as Jones takes the kick, aggressively cuts it into the corridor to Ben Keys, who's got it defensive side of halfway. He goes again looking for an option in Scholl. Bounces off his shin, kick didn't have the carry. Bruce intercepted. Handball went out wide looking for Howe. Duday crashed into him, and then they come firing in over the top of Duday to wrench the football free, the Hawks. Moore has a go. Handball to Bruce. Bruce inside the 50 looking for O'Meara. Spiked away by Kelly for the Crows. At left half back for Adelaide. Turned over again. Moore now. They enter the forward 50 again. Hawthorn over the back from Cousins. Lewis is there to collect, snap and score for Hawthorn. Mitch Lewis, the beneficiary of some frenetic work in the forward half from the Hawks. And they've got a fourth. We've got 10 goals on the board in the opening term here under the roof. Hawthorn 4-1, Adelaide 6 straight, an 11-point ball game through half an hour on Grandstand AFL.
Joel, that frenetic work, a little bloke called Dylan Moore, who's really, I didn't realise how quick he is over the ground, but he made something out of nothing twice there to ensure that that goal was finally kicked. He looks like he's not big in stature, but he certainly can put his body on the line, and he moves like lightning across the ground.
And Hawthorn have been really good the last 6 or 7 minutes of getting their defensive structures right. Adelaide have switched the ball back into the corridor 2 or 3 times, but the only option they've had is to go further out the other side. Hawthorn have really been quick in blocking that corridor and then go straight down the middle kick.
So margin back to 11 points, favouring Adelaide from the restart. Sloan goes in, just throws it on his boot. A high kick towards half forward. Fogarty with the one-hander, reels it in. Takes another contested mark over.
He's not beyond his range from here either, Darcy Fogarty.
We want the siren to go. There's been 30 minutes gone, 31 minutes gone.
Going to have to take a while because there's still 2.5 minutes left, Murky.
Goodness me. I was hoping for the torp after the siren.
We might be here till lockdown ends.
So
he'll do this easy.
Fogarty has started his run-up from just in line with the centre circles. He's going to kick this from inside the centre square, about 55 metres out from goal, close to the line. Off hands, it's still in play. Eventually, Bramble rushes it through for Hawthorn and nearly had the journey from Fogarty. Minor score only, their first of the evening. The Crows 6-1-37, Hawthorn 4-1-25, 31 and a half minutes played opening term.
If you're going to have a shot, you might as well do a torp because it gives you the extra 4 metres and he would have actually kicked the goal. So if you're going to have a shot that'll actually make the distance.
Scrimshaw brings it out to Shields for the Hawks at right half back. He kicks up the line, it floats over the head of Lewis, and Jones dives in to mark for Adelaide in front of the interchange gates here at Docklands. Crows by 12 points, 10 goals between the sides in this opening term. Jones kicks a long footy inside the forward 50 and Hardigan outpoints his former teammate in Walker. Inside the defensive 50 for Hawthorn and then throws his arms up in the air as he waits for an option to present itself.
So Hardigan, nice kick down the line, finds McAvoy in front of Butts on the lead. Just forward of right half back for Hawthorn. Assessing his options up forward. Just decides to send a long kick down the line. Reeves has quite a few to beat. It falls to Moore. His handball, though, intercepted by Kelly of the Crows. He's tackled. Ball is holding the ball. I thought it might have spilled out, but the umpire says no. He didn't get rid of it. He thinks it's his free kick as Kelly, but no. That's
good call, Jess, but it fell out on the wrong side. The umpire couldn't see it.
And so Mira with the free kick for Hawthorn. Long kick into the pocket. All Adelaide Crows back there. O'Brien stands tall, takes the mark.
Probably shouldn't kick it at the ruckman. David, what do you reckon?
Well, true.
O'Brien to McPherson for the Crows, out to Lynch. So often the link man, Tom Lynch, a pretty distinguished career in Crows colours, out of contract at the end of the year. The 30-year-old, playing game number 160, kicked his 199th goal in his AFL career earlier in the game. Just chip it down the outer side here, willing to possess the footy. To end a pretty enthralling opening term, it must be said, here at Docklands. The Crows got us off to a fast start with the first 3 of the game. The Hawks answered with a couple. They traded blows toward the end of the term. All up, 10 goals were kicked. And at quarter time, it is Adelaide 6-1-37 to Hawthorn 4-1-25 at the MCG. The Dogs by 10 over the Ds. Will keep you close to that one throughout proceedings this evening. 2 goals to Darcy Fogarty for the Crows. Singles to Brodie Smith from inside the centre square, if you don't mind. Tom Lynch, Taylor Walker and Lockie Murphy with a miraculous goal from the forward pocket. Hawthorn's 4, all singles coming through Lewis, Warple, Phillips and Kajitsky. Quarter time under the roof at Docklands, an empty stadium, an Adelaide home game. Such is the weirdness of the last 18 months or so. It almost seems as though those sentences come into some kind of normality. It is quarter time and it's the Crows by 2 kicks, 6-1, playing 4-1. This is Grandstand AFL on ABC Radio and ABC Sport Digital.
In winter, mutton birds are flying to America like we can't. But we can snuggle in for a winter binge with Spix and Specs on ABC iView.
You're right, miss. Yes, I'm right. No, I'm just excited.
Or Wakefield, or Love on the Spectrum, or Fisk, or Superwog.
I have way more where that came from.
Don't be surprised by all the jaw-dropping comedy, eye-popping drama, and mind-blowing television.
There's more? There's more.
Yes. Stream for free now on ABC iView.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Chipped over the top now to Himmelberg at right half forward. Low kick inside the arc finds Walker. Texas got it 40 out. Tighter than a 45-degree angle and will be marched to the goal square. 50 metres for Tex Walker, and Tex just slots it, an unguarded goal, and opens the scoring here at Docklands. Left foot kick to full forward. O'Brien across to knock it away from Walker, but Fogarty does the roving in the left forward pocket and bounces one home.
Dishes it off to McPherson. Now the long kick inside 50. Fogarty wins front spot against Frost and takes the contested mark. Fogarty lets go from 40 metres. The umpire does a bit of work, but that is through. Now Schonberg goes in. He's dispossessed by Mitchell. The ball ricochets, ends up with Warple, who has a right foot snap towards goal, and there is Hawthorn's first.
Get away from the stoppage cleanly. So are the Crows. Brody Smith throws it on the boot from 70 and bounces it home.
Just inside the centre square, a long kick towards a dangerous spot, and Kaczynski takes a nice mark. He lines up. We'll get a good look at this one and make it 22 goals for the year for Jacob Kaczynski, and Hawthorn peg one back.
Fogarty collected it. Handball on. Jones chips it to Murphy, who dropped it in the forward pocket, hooks it around his body toward the goal line, and that floated through. It has. At left half back for Adelaide. Turned over again, more now. They enter the forward 50 again. Hawthorn over the back from Cousins. Lewis is there to collect, snap and score for Hawthorn.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Certainly a busy opening term. 10 goals between the two teams. It was a rollicking opening to the game. And Adelaide lead by 12 points, 6-1-37 to 4-1-25. If you're having memories of the shootout these two sides played earlier in the year, you're probably rightly so. 102 to 99 on that occasion. The Crows kicked 15 goals before they missed one. Their only blemish coming through a rushed behind in the opening term here tonight. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you on Grandstand AFL. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia, Broken Hill, and on ABC Sports Digital. The other game tonight, the Western Bulldogs lead by 10 points over Melbourne, 4-3-27 to 2-5-17. That's being played at a pretty greasy MCG with some showers drifting over Melbourne. We're protected from those under the roof here at Docklands. In the Olympics, it is Sweden 4, Australia 2, closing in on the 90th minute, so into extra time in the second half in that game, and it's going to be a fairly convincing win to Sweden, who set their Olympics campaign up very nicely with a 3-0 win over the US, the defending world champions, earlier in the week, and the Matildas coming off a 2-1 win over New Zealand. Going to go down this afternoon. We'll have an Olympics update for you at half-time with Ned Hall, who'll wrap everything that's happened in Tokyo across the course of the day. A busy day with the men's road race, the swimming starting tonight, our first gold handed out. Plenty to recap from Tokyo at half-time with Ned Hall. Plenty to recap here as well at quarter time. The Crows by 2 goals. Berkey and Parko, that was an entertaining opening quarter.
I'd have to agree that I love the method or the outlook or the principles which they're applying. It looks like to me that it doesn't matter how much they'll score, but we'll score more. And I actually like that. Now, whether this could be continued by players, because the amount of running when they're moving up on the ground like they are now in mass from one end of the ground to the other, you think, well, maybe the capacity of players physically to continue to play this way might level off as the game's go on. But I've been delighted to see the risks that have been taking, the quick movement of the ball. Some of the high marking and goal kicking has been exceptional. We've had O'Meara and Wingard, Cousins and Warple have been very, very good players for Hawthorn. And Schoenberg, Keys, Seedsman, Laird and Lynch, those five have been doing terrific work for the Adelaide Crows. So whilst the scoreboard is certainly in favour of Adelaide, I don't think they're so far in front they can't be grabbed.
No, the only difference in the stats is the marks column, 16 to Hawthorn and 38 to Adelaide. That makes up the 20 difference in overall possession, but inside 50s are pretty even. So hopefully this style of football continues.
Nathan Burke and David Parkin, your experts on Grandstand AFL. Second term underway as Andre Gianfagna bounces it down in the centre. Riley O'Brien, a decisive win at the hit-out, and Rory Laird wins a free kick for the Crows. He's away through the centre circles and pumps it inside the forward 50 toward Himmelberg, and Scrimshaw floats across. And he's able to take the mark, intercepting for the Hawks. Handball off to Hartigan, who chips it awkwardly wide, looking for Bruce. Set him an awful task. Good tackle by Keys over there, who's in the top 10 in the AFL in that particular statistic, having a terrific year. Brings Hardwick down. We'll have a ball up at left half forward for the Crows. They kick to the Coventry end here in the second term.
So Keys roves the ball up. It spills though the Hawks' way. Howe just kicks it out of there towards Wingard. Good job by Hamill of the Crows to win the footy in that one-on-one. He handballs to Seedsman, who just sends it back towards half forward for the Crows. Lynch got his fingers on it, couldn't complete the mark. Sloane roves, handballs to Tex Walker. Kick around the body in the hole, and the Crows get the first of the second term. Tex Walker is on the board. Adelaide moved to 7-1-43. Hawthorn 4-1-25. A minute played in this second term, and the goals just keep flowing.
I'm one of those people who thought Tex Walker, by the time he got 2/3 of the way through last year, that he was I shouldn't say an embarrassment, but he was well past his best and would be replaced by someone. He has been so good, so often, so consistently, if you like, during this season. That is a resurrection of a career that I didn't see coming. That was an outstanding individual effort, and to finish with such a good goal.
Yeah, and I think he's realised that he doesn't need a whole bunch of possessions to actually affect the game. Stay closer to goal. Stay inside 50. Don't run up and down the wing like you used to try and do when you're younger. Now, get the ball 30, 40 metres out, and it's almost a goal every time. He's such a good kick.
12th time this season with multiple goals for Tex. He'd only kicked 6 in his past 4 games coming into tonight, so a couple in the early stages here. He could be in for a nice evening the way the scoring's unfolding. Have a secondary ball up in the middle as Sloane and Mitchell and O'Meara run into each other. 3 of the midfield protagonists for these two teams. Reeves and O'Brien tussle again in ruck. O'Meara pokes one inside the forward 50 for Hawthorn. Jones goes to ground for the Crows. Awkward handball up to Butts, who handled it nicely. Chips it short to Smith. Handball away to Kelly. Kelly drives a low wobbler into the centre circles. Hartigan had it knocked away at the last moment by Walker too late, and a free kick given to the former Crow, who's got it just defensive side of the centre circles for Hawthorn.
Gives it off to Scrimshaw. His short kick finds Frost inside the centre square. Turns around, a long kick inside, attacking 50 for Hawthorn. It's fisted away from Bruce by Duday of the Crows. The boundary line eventually beats all, and we will have a throw-in 50 metres around from the Hawthorn goal.
They're much more constructive with ball in hand, Adelaide. They are really using the usable player. They're kicking to a leading player almost every time, where Hawthorn are grabbing, kicking along and hoping like hell to be somebody there.
So Crows lead this one by 18 points. Hawthorn are in attack from the boundary throw-in. Keys wins the footy, handballs to Butts, and the umpire has found a free kick, I think, for just holding on to Butts a little long, and he wins himself a free kick, left back pocket for the Crows.
Bailey Fridge with an absolute shocker off the boot at the MCG from a set shot. He got nowhere near that. Melbourne trailed by 10 points. Simon Goodwin doesn't look like he's enjoying himself at the moment in that top 2 clash at the MCG. Earlier today, winners in the AFL, North Melbourne over Carlton, Brisbane over the Gold Coast and West Coast over St Kilda. Long kick to clear defence for the Crows, but it'll come back in for the Hawks. Chip forward through Scrimshaw. O'Meara marks, got around the Duday tackle somehow. Kicks to full forward. Lewis presents up at the footy, left Frampton in his wake. And Mitch Lewis will go back from the top of the goal square and try to kick his second.
Well, he has so much talent, Charlie. He really is a great athlete. He hardly ever comes at the ball like that. His athleticism, height and ability, given that he moves at the ball that way, is almost unbeatable.
Because he missed a few games after the boxing mishap at training. He's kicked goals in every game that he's played so far this year, and he's got 2 here tonight for the 3rd week in a row. Mitch Lewis on the board with multiple goals. And they do keep rolling on here at Docklands for these two teams. Hawthorn 5-1-31, Adelaide 7-1-43. 5 minutes gone in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL. Your experts are St Kilda champion Nathan Burke and AFL Hall of Famer David Parkin.
Even with a reasonable kick, and that was a good kick to elude that we've been talking about, his athleticism is so hard to negate. And that should be encouraged all the time. That ought to be replayed and replayed to him and the team. That's the way he must come at the ball, not trying to jump over people from behind, but to lead up and jump, almost unbeatable.
So Crows, the margin is back again to 12 points. Hawthorn haven't managed to crack that two-goal barrier since early in the game. So Adelaide just kept them at bay so far. The bounce favours McAvoy. Coming through Wingard, tried to tap it to advantage. Now Sloan comes in and picks it up. He had one arm pinned. The ball spills to Wingard again. He's tackled by Keys. And the umpire has a good look at this one. Calls a ball up, still just inside the centre square.
Should have been, as you indicated, should have been a holding the ball. He had a chance and ducked his head under. Should have been holding the ball.
McAvoy slaps it down. O'Meara's there for Hawthorn. Wingard tries to clear the pack. Socket forward eventually toward Moore. Jones has a go. McAvoy lays a tackle on the front point of the square. It spilt to Moore, but not before the umpire had called for a ball up. Brendan Hosking, Nathan Toner, Andre Jean-Fagner are umpires this evening. O'Brien and McAvoy tussle in ruck. It spills to Wingard, who kicks a rainmaker to full forward. Butts goes up, knocks it down. Lewis is there battling against Frampton at full forward for the Hawks. Paddles it behind himself. Picked up by Cousins. Handball to Bruce in the pocket. Handball to Wingard. Run down by Sloan. Ball spills free for the Hawks. Cousins had it. Handball to Brockman under all kinds of pressure. Duday tried to spin through the traffic. He gave it up to Cousins, who snapped on goal and missed. After Cousins' handball gifted one to Tom Lynch in the opening term, he stole a handball there but couldn't get the finish home, and the margin's 11 points the way of Adelaide.
So Smith from the right back pocket, long kick down the wing, it falls to Lynch, who kicks up towards half forward. It's Walker against Hardigan, and Hardigan first to meet it, just walks it over the boundary line, and we will have a throw in between wing and half forward for the Adelaide Crows. So Adelaide leading by 11 points, 7 minutes gone, second term. The umpire flicks it back in. Mitchell wins the footy, hands it to Warple and kicks Hawthorn to half forward, but taking a nice defensive mark is Frampton of the Crows.
Billy showing them the way in defence this evening. Laird just defensive side of the wing. Chips it to half forward. O'Brien's in the pack. Fogarty went with one hand. Was he held on to? He was. Darcy Fogarty from 52 had the kick smothered. Spilt to Schonberg. Now to Scholl in the pocket. He centres it up. Squaring ball is accepted on the chest by Daniel Howe in defence for Hawthorn, with no one within cooee of him. Howe chips it short. Finds Hardwick back into the team this week. One of a couple of inclusions for Hawthorn along with Scrimshaw and Wingard. Duday and Frampton, the ins for Adelaide's side this evening. Howe's continued to run, slams one up the outer side wing. Frampton chases after it, Cousins coming the other way. Jones goes in low for the Crows. Kajitsky brings Frampton down. Umpire says that's okay. We'll have a ball up in line with the front edge of the square. Hawthorn into attack. They trail by 11 points, 8.5 gone second term.
So McAvoy and O'Brien. And the ball... And the umpire has found a free kick from the scrimmage. Looks like it's going Adelaide's way, and McHenry emerges with the footy. Short kick down the wing, finds Smith. He's unsure where to go. He's corralled by Bramble on the mark, elects to go backwards. So Adelaide at left half back. Now the long kick comes down the wing. Out to meet it, Himmelberg paid the mark and he wheels around. Long kick inside 50 for Adelaide. And Fogarty has a bit of a flight, spills out the back, and Hawthorn have the numbers in Phillips, who handballs to Hardigan and kicks across the face of goal where Wingard marks in the pocket.
So Wingard keen to settle things down for the Hawks. He's going to try and hook one along the boundary line. That's a precise kick, and Lewis is up to mark and accepted on his chest. Nice bit of delivery on the left boot from Chad Wingard. Lewis kicks along the boundary line to McAvoy, who goes up uncontested. Frampton looks around as if he's expecting some help to get to the contest. McAvoy on the 45. An aggressive kick finds O'Meara just forward of the AFL logo. O'Meara looks up and sends it inside the 50. Kaczynski with a rise, couldn't pull it in. It spilled away to Brockman. Handball to Moore into the post. Right foot kick hits the base of the left-hand upright. Another minor score for Hawthorn narrows the gap to 10 points through 10 minutes of the second quarter.
So from the kick in, Fogarty marks at left half back for the Crows. Elects to just load up and send it in the Tex Walker direction. Hardigan with the fist, spills to Granger Barras of Hawthorn. But now the players dive on it. The ball's still alive. It's flicked out the back. O'Brien picks it up for Hawthorn. He's tackled by Frampton. Ball still alive against the boundary line. Bramble hand passes to Warple. He's dispossessed. Not sure why that wasn't holding the ball. And now the players pile on and forces a ball up just inside the boundary line between wing and half forward for Adelaide.
I think you're right there, Jess. I don't think I saw a handball there from a tackle, just like he dropped the ball.
Up they go from the stoppage. Warple curls it around the body up the outer side wing. Kelly back with courage. Couldn't take the mark. Got clattered into by Butts coming the other way. Jones goes low. Moore went lower. Handball away to Wingard, to Mitchell. Got one across the shoulder. Free kick to the Hawthorn champ. So Tom Mitchell has got the footy for Hawthorn. 70 from home. Assesses the options. Wingard's just fallen over at centre-half forward as well and pulling up a little bit sore. Mitchell chips it to the pocket. Kaczynski the fly. Duday pulls it in off hands. That's locked up in the right forward pocket, and we will have a ball up. Inside forward 50 for the Hawks, who trail by 10 points. The quarter-time margin was 12 points the way of the Crows. We've played 12 in the second quarter.
So Brian wins the tap, then goes in again and tries to pick up the footy. He couldn't quite collect, goes in again. This time just a little kick out, falls the way of Laird. Turns around, puts it on the left boot, out of defensive 50. Frost for Hawthorn, couldn't quite complete the mark. It spills over the boundary line for a throw in.
Mitch Hannon with a goal at the MCG and getting rather animated with his former Melbourne teammates there, Berkey.
Yes, there's a lot of pushing and shoving and fines being handed out.
Dogs by 15 points, 34 plays, 19, a couple of minutes left in the first half there.
So Crows by 10 here at Docklands, 12 minutes played second term. O'Brien from the wing for Hawthorn, handballs to Warple. He's dispossessed now. Howe lays a tackle and forces a neutral. Wing position, City side.
Adelaide Crows persist in bringing either a Murphy or a McHenry from the forward line up around the middle of the stoppages. Hawthorn are happy to have the extra number back in playing in cover, and it's normally Hardwick or Bramble.
Crows will take it from the stoppage here. McPherson, left foot kick hooked up toward half forward. Fogarty went straight past it. Lynch has a go. Ranger Barras might have been in his back. No free kick. Spills away to Schonberg. Goes inside the 50. McHenry rises to mark. Nice take from Ned McHenry, who goes to the pocket for Walker. And Tex accepts it to his chest. He's already been marked to full forward with a 50-metre penalty once tonight. It won't be a second time here. Walker's marked 40 metres out, 45-degree angle to the right of centre, looking for his third.
It's just so consistent. They have more options each time. These players, even though they're not going to receive the ball, are still providing options and keeping the opposition alert. And they've delivered it to the player on the lead so much better than Hawthorn have. Going into 50, that is.
So Walker comes in and the set shot is absolutely picture perfect. Tex thumps it through for his 45th goal of the campaign. And Adelaide's lead out to 16 points. 8-1-49. Hawthorn 5-3-33. We've played 14 minutes in the second quarter on Grandstand AFL. Your experts are Nathan Burke and David Parkin.
Well, that set shot routine, it doesn't get simpler than that. He runs straight, he drops it straight, and he kicks it straight. So many players these days, we see them spinning the ball in their hands on the way in, and they're darting out to the left and the right. He's the best set shot for goal in the game, in my opinion, certainly from that range, kicking inside 50. And he's probably got the most simplest set shot routine that you can possibly have.
Agreed.
So we're back in the middle as these two sides keep trading blows, and O'Brien will battle Reeves in the ruck as the umpire slams it down. Reeves goes in again, handballs to Warple, who chucks it on the boot, a kick towards half forward. Kazitsky, it bounces over his head, out the back McAvoy, he can't collect it either. Spills to Howe, handballs backwards to Shields. A chip kick into the pocket, Bruce can't complete the mark. Spills off hands close to the boundary line, eventually falls over right where the 50-metre line intersects the boundary, right half forward for Hawthorn. So Crows lead it by 16 points. 15 minutes played in this second term. And Hawthorn are into attack. As McAvoy wins the tap down, straight down to Sloan of the Crows, just gets boot to ball, it trickles out the back of the pack where Warple collects for Hawthorn, ducks around one, gets the hands free, hand passes to Mitchell, gives it to Shield, hurry kick around the corner, into the pocket, Duday can't complete the mark, it spills to Kazitsky, I think that is, right to the line, but it's marked on the line by Seedsman of the Crows, right in the goal square.
So Seedsman thumps it out on that long right boot. Out the back of the pack, just waiting for it. There was Frost. He chips it short awkwardly to Warple, but finds his measure. Warple inside the 50. Brockman arrives, couldn't pull it in. 40 out from the Hawks' goal. McPherson has a go, held without it, not paid by the umpire. Moore, the opposite number 36, has a go for Hawthorn. Now Howe, handball to Bruce. Handball on to Moore, who steps around one, feeds the handball further into the pocket, and they've mucked it up here, the Hawks. McPherson was let in. Handball to Duday, who clears the defensive 50 for the Crows. Tumbles it out toward Lynch. He flicked the handball over the top to Keys. Went looking for Walker. Left it behind. A soccer in there for the Hawthorn defence. Gets it back toward half forward. It's really messy stuff at the moment for both sides. Walker rode the tackle of Hardigan. Got brought down. Ran into a brick wall. Tex tried to do a little bit too much there. And now Hardigan's got it for Hawthorn. He kicks to full forward, and a good defensive mark is taken by Duday, who was strong in the air and chips short to Brodie Smith.
You've also got to look at where the loose man is situated, whether he can cut off the lead. You don't just kick straight to the first lead that you see.
Smith kicks to Murphy. He kicks it longer down the wing. It's a 2-on-1 favouring Hawthorn. Spills out the back to Bramble, who tracks back inside defensive 50, gets around one, has a bounce, and then tries to find a target. Scrimshaw's off hands. And ball spills, players pile on.
Can I give you a new segment, Joel? Yep. Round the grounds with Berkey.
Yep.
Round the grounds. Half-time at the MCG. 21-point lead to the Western Bulldogs. 2-7-19 Melbourne. 6-4-40 Western Bulldogs.
I was about to do that, so I'll go home.
Thanks, mate. No, I'm not doing call by call. Sorry, that's just far too hard.
From the ball up, Crows win a kick into attack, but they've turned it over. Frost for Hawthorn, handballs backwards to Scrimshaw, gives it to Warple, who just gets around three Crows opponents, finds some space, and then spots Shield right inside the boundary line, left half back.
So Shields has got it for Hawthorn. Runs around the man on the mark.
Good kick.
Chisels it to O'Meara, who took it in stride. And then he whacked one across the centre corridor to Moore, who marks on the front point of the square for Hawthorn. A nice bit of play unfolding for the Hawks here. Moore kicks to Bruce, who's marked right on the numbers of the 50 out to the right.
And knowing him well, this will be touched on the way through.
Billy Frampton is on the mark, who is not an easy man to kick over at 202 centimetres.
Hasn't he become a good player playing down back?
And Luke Bruce is going to have a go. From 50 metres, Bruce sends it toward the goal line, and it's off hands, David Parkin. Expertly prognosticated from the back of the box.
If I know that from here, shouldn't he know that too and kick it to the head of the square? Seriously. I mean, I know his ability. He knows his ability. Why would you have a shot?
He was the only one that might have been surprised by that result. The margin 15 points the way of the Crows.
McPherson with the kick in, kicks to Laird, whose short kick finds Lynch on the lead. From left half back, just drives a kick down the wing. Walker used his body well and took the mark over Hardigan. He's quick to play on, wheels around on that right boot. A high kick in the Himmelberg direction, but there's a free kick being paid going Hawthorn's way. And it'll be Bramble who emerges with the footy. Kicks laterally, finds Phillips in the pocket. Short kick to Hardwick.
Just little McHenry should stay out of contested marking situations. He just gave away that's out the full.
Hardwick's kick in the direction of Shields just had too much on it, out of bounds on the full. Rory Sloan with the free kick right half forward for Adelaide.
That's a terrible kick. Not great pressure on, just got to hit the bloke.
So he's turned it over 60 metres out where Rory Sloan stands with the footy. Tees it up to the pocket, gives Himmelberg a look at it, almost bounced out the back. Berry took it for the Crows. He's driven into the turf in the tackle. Granger Barras over the top and a ball up right up against the right hand behind post here for Adelaide. 8 goals 1, plays 5 goals 4. Margin 15 points, 20 minutes gone here in this second term. Reeves knocks it down in ruck for the Hawks on the last line. Mitchell, a clearing kick. Jones got rid of Wingard, called to play on. Curls it on the left boot to fall forward. Reeves is up to knock it down. Schonberg collects in the right forward pocket for Adelaide. He flares it across the face of goal. Howe and Smith in the foot race. And Howe's happy to see it over the boundary line. Didn't matter how it got there. He just wanted that particular result at the junction of the 50 in the boundary. It'll be tossed back in left half forward for the Crows.
I'm sick and tired. I watched it all weekend. Wingard was pushed in the back to get rid of him in the contest and couldn't mark, having got the right position. It's happened all weekend.
So Walker wins the tap. Shield will shark it though for the Hawks. To O'Brien, his kick smothered. Ball still alive in the pocket. Hawks players appealing for out of bounds on the full, but they won't get it, and it was touched, and we will have a throw in 10 metres around from Adelaide's goal. We had 10 goals kicked in the opening term, only had 3 in the second term, but it's still an entertaining game of footy as Crows into attack. Reeves with the double fister straight down the throat of Mitchell. 3 hands, Shields and O'Brien. He had his head taken off, and he'll win himself a free kick in the right back pocket for Hawthorn.
Very jumping high in the air. He's not the best tackle technique if you don't want to get a guy around the neck.
He did apologise.
Ambitious.
Old-fashioned horse collar inside the defensive 50. Low kick outside the arc for the Hawks, taken by Mitchell. Handball to Wingard. Oh, wonderful work. Bruce to Wingard on the burst, and Wingard accepts it again from Lewis. He got thrown into the turf.
That's a good tackle.
A wonderful tackle from Hamill. Chad Wingard bursting down the outer wing, and Aaron Hamill said, "You shall not pass, Chad." And then turned it over straight away. Warple takes it back to Wingard, who dribbles one forward and then runs back onto his own footy. This time it was Laird who took it away from him. Frampton's in there. Hamill's there for the Crows. Scholl pokes it up the line. McHenry's got it in an uncontested marking situation, which you'll like, Berkey. He pokes it over the top and finds Sam Berry, centre of the outer wing. Berry with a long right foot kick to the edge of the arc. Walker out the back, couldn't take the mark. Oh, Reeves, nice work off hands. The kick was very awkward up the line. O'Brien with a rise. He couldn't pull it in. Berry goes in for the Crows. Scholl has a go. Up and down the mine shaft. McHenry is able to drag it in at half forward. Goes inside the 50 and finds Brodie Smith, who lunges forward and marks it millimetres off the turf. He's just marked just inside the 50, and this is a Sunday stroll in the park as far as kicking goes for Brodie Smith. He kicked one from about 70 in the opening term.
It's a very kick you've been talking about.
Yep.
I mean, he came with the ball under a reasonable pressure. He kicked the ball so he could come totally and flat out at it to take it. Wonderful piece of footy.
So Brodie Smith from just outside the 50 sets sail for home. It has the carry. It does not have the accuracy. Players fight for it alongside the behind post, and they can't keep it in. It's out of bounds on the full. The free to be taken by Kyle Hardigan for the Hawks. The margin 15 points the way of the Crows. 23 minutes gone in the second term.
Hardigan elects to kick it outside defensive 50, and no one there for Hawthorn, and it falls into the lap of Frampton of Adelaide. Hartigan looking for McAvoy. Kick had too much on it, and Frampton says thank you very much. Kicks it back to where it came from, into the forward pocket for the Crows. The umpire's found a free kick. It will go Hawthorn's way, and Hartigan will be the recipient, and he has a chance to have that kick all over again.
What can he do with this one? Silent Docklands, apart from the instructions from the bench and the players. Hartigan kicked toward Lewis. Mitchell took it off hands, thumps it up the wing. Reeves reaches over the top of Jones far too easily, thumps it toward the boundary line. Laird kept it in. Lewis got it for the Hawks. To Moore, worked his way through the traffic. Frampton was there, back to Moore, shoveled it out to Shields, all in tight confines on the dockside wing. Shields a rainmaker. Kajitsky floats forward, couldn't drag it in, but went to ground and paddled it looking for Wingard. Lewis a handball to Mitchell. Mitchell now to Wingard, who kicks it inside the 50. Moore going back with the flight. Free kick to the Hawks.
She's a worker more. He was down here in front of us, 15 or 20 metres on the wrong side of the contest, was able to end the contest here and then just run flat out over about 110 metres then. That's a fantastic effort to get in there.
And the other player who did that was Tom Mitchell. Yep. He was amazing in that little passage of play.
So Dylan Moore shaping as if he'll go around the body here. Their second leading goal kicker on the season for Hawthorn. Slots another one. And he closes the gap to single digits. 6-4-40 the Hawks. Adelaide 8-1-49. 25 minutes gone in the second term. And Dylan Moore's hard work continues to pay dividends on the score sheet. That's goal number 23 for the season.
Yeah, it's 10 shots to 9. And I would have thought that Adelaide actually have dominated the game in the sense they had better commitment in the contest, they had better usage to moving targets, and they certainly have had a terrific conversion rate. So interesting game, and there are obviously elements that Hawthorn are producing which I don't quite understand.
Inside 50s, 27 Hawthorn, 23 Adelaide.
Well, there's your answer.
And they're closing in on the Hawks. They haven't been this closing in on the Crows. Haven't been this close since about the 17-minute mark of the first term. Adelaide have been in front on the scoreboard, but the Hawks are coming. So from the restart, Cousins on his hands and knees, but Laird picks it up for the Crows. A high up and under kick towards half forward. Fogarty almost got a push in the back. It spills to McAvoy of the Hawks, to Frost. He can't quite collect it. Going in Scrimshaw. He's gang tackled by a couple of Crows, forces a ball up 50 metres out from the Crows' goal.
Demanding game, Berkey, you reckon? It's for the players. I think this is taking a fair bit out of them.
I think so. It's moving up and down fairly quickly.
Yeah, that's what I'm...
You get the sense if you don't have your defence right switched on, the other team will score.
Yep.
So from the ball up, he forces a secondary stoppage, and now we go all again. It's still a scrimmage on the 50-metre line, and we will have a third ball up. Haven't moved very far at all.
20 players in that too, Jess. 20 players now in this contest.
Berkey's been doing around the grounds and Olympic updates. We need him to get a clearance here. He was wearing the number 3 for St Kilda, just to dive in at the footy. We have got the clearance as well. Crows come up with it on the outer side wing. Smith to Frampton to Laird, who kicks toward half forward. Walker took it off the pack, sums it up from 45 metres out, flares it across the face. Himmelberg bounced off his chest. He went back and tracked the ball and clutched it in 25 metres out, tight angle right of centre.
I thought that's a terrible effort, the original one, but when he got back on the second time, I thought, that's pretty good.
He looked like he completely misjudged the ball floating over his shoulder. Sort of bounced off his bicep, bobbled up, and he snapped back around and, like a sort of a Venus flytrap, was able to snatch the footy out of the air.
Good call, Joe.
On the halftime siren, Elliot Himmelberg drives it through to give the Crows some breathing room going into the sheds at the long break. Their 9th goal of the game thus far is Himmelberg's first of the evening. And Adelaide lead at half-time, 9-1-55 to Hawthorn 6-4-40. After an opening term that went every bit of 34 minutes, the second only goes 28. And it is Adelaide who lead by 15 points at the main break. The goals for the Crows, 3 to Taylor Walker, 2 to Darcy Fogarty. The goal there to Himmelberg on the half-time siren. Goals also to Smith, Lynch and Murphy. For Hawthorn, 2 to Mitch Lewis. Singles to Warple, Phillips, Kajitsky and Moore. Adelaide kicking 2 goals straight in that, or 3 goals straight in that term. Hawthorn adding 2 goals, 3 to half-time. They trail by 15 points, the Hawks, here at the nominal Adelaide home game at Docklands. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill. In the other game tonight, the Western Bulldogs 6-4-40 to Melbourne, 2-7-19 at half-time. Winners earlier today, North Melbourne, Brisbane and West Coast. And very soon we'll be getting the latest from Ned Hall as far as an Olympics update goes. But before all that, with their thoughts on a pretty entertaining first half here under the roof at Docklands, in which we've seen 15 goals, 5 kicked between two sides that don't mind a shootout when they meet one another. St Kilda champion Nathan Burke and all-round champion, 4-time premiership winner as a coach and a player, David Parkin, with you on Grandstand AFL.
Well, David, I think 9 goals won to 6 goals for, 10 scoring shots each. Probably sums it up a little bit. It's quite even across the ground. If we had a stat of time in forward half, it's probably going to be around about 55-45 in favour of the Crows, potentially. I think they've had a fair bit of the football up their end. But I like the way the game is being played. Both sides are trying to get the ball into attacking parts of the ground. There's not a lot of the just going backwards and forwards for the sake of going backwards and forwards. The first look when players get it is into the corridor to see whether they can open the game up and use that rather than just going straight sideways to the boundary. Let's hope that style of play continues through the second half, because it's actually good to watch. I do think that whichever team can get their forward line functioning the best will probably come out. I said at the start this could be a midfield battle, which team gets the midfield on top, but at the moment you'd say it's fairly even across the midfield. Neither team is on top. Wingard's had 15, Mitchell's had 15, Warple's had 14, and Laird, he's had 15 as usual, Seedsman 12 and Schoenberg 12. So they're getting even amounts across the middle of the ground. It's which forward line can actually figure out. You know what, we keep harping on it to a degree. Come forward, use the space, have multiple options leading at the footy, and the guy with the ball can actually choose the best one, lower their eyes, hit a target, and as we've seen tonight, the goals are going through. So take a mark inside 50, there's a fair chance you'll get a goal. So to me, it's going to be which team can actually sort out their forward 50, and also which team going inside 50 can make the best choices, because it looks like both teams are going to get a fair crack at it.
Yeah, that sums it up pretty well. I think it is an enjoyable spectacle. I think goal kicking for all of us is upper in that sort of thinking. They scored 10 goals between them in the first quarter. It was halved, Berkey, in the second quarter. It's back to 5. I hope it won't be halved again to be 2.5 in the third quarter and they don't score it all in the last. But it's been an enjoyable game for us sitting here, one of the few in the arena that's actually watching the game live. It is a good spectacle. The contest has been vigorous from both sides, whether it's been in the air or on the ground. The goal kicking has been terrific. I reckon both long and angular goals have gone through. So it's been played in what I call a good competitive spirit. There's been no stupidity about it. I'm still getting annoyed as I watched over the weekend where players who make front position should be given every opportunity to go for the mark, having worked hard to take the best position, and getting ridden under with hands and bodies and not able to contest what was their right to do so. It isn't pulled up often enough in footy, and this weekend's been a classical example of forwards, players getting in the right position as they're coached to be and being taken out of unfairly or illegally in that contest. I think we do have, despite the fact that Hawthorn are trailing, and I think deserve to be trailing, I think we have a really good contest on our hands.
It's certainly providing plenty of entertainment as far as goals go. 15 goals in the opening half. We'll have more thoughts from Nathan Burke and David Parkin very shortly. Half-time here at Docklands. It's Adelaide 9-1-55 to Hawthorn 6-4-40. We hope the scoring trend continues in the second half. That is for sure. Very soon we'll join Ned Hall with the latest from Tokyo, a big day of Olympic action across many sports. So Ned will bring us the latest news from all that's happening in the Olympic Games. But first, let's get the latest from the ABC Newsroom.
ABC News headlines with Satyam Weinstein. The New South Wales Premier says she's utterly disgusted with protesters who took part in an unauthorised anti-lockdown march in Sydney today. Gladys Berejiklian says they've shown utter contempt for their fellow citizens and compromised the safety of everyone. Thousands of protesters from all over Sydney converged in the city to protest the month-long lockdown. Victoria's Health Minister Martin Foley says New South Wales should get a greater share of any unallocated COVID vaccines. Mr Foley says New South Wales can't have any vaccine that's already been allocated to Victoria, but it should get more doses that are not yet allocated. All adults in Greater Sydney are being urged to consider getting the AstraZeneca vaccine, as any risk of rare blood clots is outweighed by the risk posed by the current COVID-19 outbreak. The vaccine advisory body ATAGI today issued new advice on the Sydney outbreak, suggesting those waiting for alternative vaccines should strongly consider getting vaccinated now. Pfizer's the preferred vaccine for those under 60, but ATAGI says given shortages of supply for that vaccine, AstraZeneca should be strongly considered by those in Greater Sydney. A new US opinion poll shows most Americans believe racism is widespread in the country. The Gallup poll shows 64% of people hold that view, up a few points from 5 years ago. ABC News.
Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app. Join Yumi Steins as she delves into taboo topics in Ladies We Need to Talk.
If I straightened my hair, I was fitting in, and if I didn't, then I was suddenly sort of a Black Panther or something.
Or immerse yourself in the life of someone else in conversations with Richard Feidler and Sarah Konoski.
I remember hearing this tremendous roar, and then the boat was literally picked up and thrown upside down.
Open your ears to the world with the ABC Listen app.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Chip forward through Scrimshaw. O'Meara marks, got around the do-day tackle somehow, kicks to full forward. Lewis presents up at the footy, left Frampton in his wake. He's kicked goals in every game that he's played so far this year, and he's got 2 here tonight for the 3rd week in a row. Mitch Lewis on the board with multiple goals. Spills away to Schonberg. Goes inside the 50. McHenry rises to mark. Nice take from Ned McHenry, who goes to the pocket for Walker. So Walker comes in, and the set shot is absolutely picture perfect. Tex thumps it through, and Adelaide's lead out to 16 points. Lewis a handball to Mitchell. Mitchell now to Wingard, who kicks it inside the 50. Moore going back with the flight. Free kick to the Hawks. Dylan Moore shaping as if he'll go around the body here. Their second leading goal kicker on the season for Hawthorn. Slots another one. Laird kicks toward half forward. Walker took it off the pack. Sums it up from 45 metres out. Flares it across the face. Himmelberg! On the half-time siren, Elliot Himmelberg drives it through to give the Crows some breathing room.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Half-time here at Docklands, under the roof in a chilly and greasy Melbourne this evening. It is Adelaide by 15 points at the main break, 9-1-55 to Hawthorn 6-4-40 in an entertaining clash. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling it for you. Nathan Burke and David Parkin, your experts at the MCG. It is the Western Bulldogs by 15 points over Melbourne. Tom McDonald kicking a goal to open up proceedings in the second half. A big day of Olympic action this afternoon. Day 1 of competition. Plenty to be excited about. And, of course, it all continues as we speak as well. To get you across all the latest from Tokyo, it's a very good evening to Ned Hall.
Good evening to you, Joel, and as we speak, things are ramping up in the pool as well. The heats of the men's 400-metre freestyle are underway. A few more to wait until the next Australians get into the water. Elijah Whittington and Jack McLaughlin are both competing in heat number 5, but we've already seen Emma McKeown straight through into the semi-finals in the women's 100-metre fly. She dead heated with the Chinese swimmer Zhang Yufei, but they both go through as the joint fastest, and a new Australian record for McKeown in the process. Brianna Throssell was 5th in the same heat, and she goes through just in 16th place to compete in tomorrow morning's semi-finals. Straight through to the men's 400-metre individual medley final, Brendan Smith, the Victorian, won his heat with a PB and an Australian and Oceania record in the process as well. The quickest swimmer through to the final. Seabon Lee was 2nd in his heat. He didn't advance, unfortunately, and still a few more Australians to compete in the pool, finishing off with the women's 4x100 metre freestyle team in action as the final event tonight. Earlier on, little disappointing in the football. Australia beaten 4-2 by Sweden. Sam Kerr scored both Australia's goals, also missed a penalty when Australia were 3-2 down. Sweden scored the next goal in the game and they went on to win. Sweden have won both their matches. Australia won one, lost one. Next up, it's the USA who are due to kick off against New Zealand in about half an hour from now, and that should provide Australia with some sort of an idea of what they need to do to make it through to the next stage. In the other team sports today, in the water polo, Australia beat Canada 8-5. Bronte Halligan scored 3 for Australia. In the softball, Canada beat Australia 7-1 earlier on today. And earlier on, it was the Kookaburras who beat Japan 5-3 in the men's hockey. Japan scored 3 times in 5 minutes, but the Kookaburras, the number 1 ranked team in men's hockey, came back and managed to get the win. In the rowing, success in the women's pairs and men's pairs. Both won their heats. They're straight into the semi-finals. The women's fours and men's fours also dominated their heats, straight through to the final for them. However, in the eights, both the men and the women will have to row again in the repechage. Wins in the tennis for John Millman, who beat Lorenzo Mazzetti in straight sets, and Ash Barty and Storm Sanders won their doubles match against their Japanese opponents, also in straight sets. Sam Stosur, though, was beaten by Ekaterina Rybakina of Kazakhstan, so she goes out. Very exciting cycling road race earlier on today. Disappointingly, though, Richie Port could only manage to come 48th overall, 10 minutes off the leaders. A very aggressive breakaway. Eventually, Richard Carapaz of Ecuador took the gold medal. He was on the podium at the Tour de France, but couldn't get ahead of Tadej Pogačar, who got a bronze medal here after winning the Tour de France 2 weeks ago. It was a thrilling race. Disappointingly for Australia, though, they couldn't get into the finishing places to take out a medal there. Plenty more still to come in the pool this evening. I'll keep you updated on that later on, but that is the latest from Tokyo.
Brilliant, Ned. While you've got a moment, on the football, 4-2 loss for Australia, as you mentioned there. Sam Kerr with a couple of goals, but missing a penalty. And Sweden, after a 3-0 win against the US a couple of nights ago, they look like a pretty imposing prospect in the women's football.
Yeah, I think a lot of it you've got to give a lot of credit to Sweden for that. Australia made quite a few chances, but the Swedes looked dangerous every time they went forward. And to beat that US unbeaten run as well, I think put a marker down in their opening match. So I think a lot of people now will be looking at the Swedes. I think ranked number 5 in the world now after that result. They're a definite gold medal chance in this. Australia not out of it. They can improve as the tournament goes on, but it's shaping as a huge match against the USA next up if they want to progress to the tournament.
And the US are the reigning world champions in the women's game. They've got no shortage of stars. That's a pretty mouth-watering prospect, because I think any time that you think of some of the great rivalries in the pool that we've had with the US over the years, but to take it to the pitch, and in women's football especially, where we've got so much star power and so do they, that's a very exciting prospect for a little bit later in the week.
It is, and I think that 3-0 defeat they had against Sweden, I don't think anybody really saw that coming. Sweden, a very good side, but USA losing a match at all is a shock. Losing 3-0, huge shock. So, how they do against New Zealand in about half an hour or so from now, that's going to be very interesting to see their reaction. Are their team is going to fall flat when they get to this major tournament? It's something they just don't do. If they bounce back and bounce back strongly, it's going to be a major test for the Matildas later in the week.
Yeah, absolutely. And a really exciting day of competition across the spectre of sports, Ned, too. I mean, the Olympic road race for the men this afternoon, you mentioned there Richard Carapaz, who's riding solo from Ecuador, third at the Tour de France. He got the better of Tadej Pogacar, who won the Tour de France. Wout van Aert, the Belgian star, was second. So different types of riders among that podium. But I guess it really set the scene in the sense that there were crowds there at the road race at the Fuji International Speedway this afternoon along the side of the road. And we got to, I guess, get a bit of a sense of what Tokyo is like, seeing the streetscapes and seeing a little bit of the environment that they're in. It was a bit of a scene setter for what's to come over the next 2 weeks, that men's road race today.
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that one, because that's one where the Australians didn't really come to the fore, yet it was thrilling watching. And as you say, you got to see a bit more of Tokyo. There were some fans who'd come out to see the cyclists go past, and the race itself was crazy. At one stage, a break was 20 minutes off the front. They got reined back in, and then so good to see Carapaz, who toiled away at the Tour de France and couldn't get past Pogacar at the Tour and all the big climbs there, getting one back on him here, taking out Ecuador's only their second ever gold medal at an Olympic Games. The last one came back in 1996, which came in walking as well. And a really brave, gutsy attack from him to take on the field, get out in front and take out the race. That was great to watch. So it just underlines the whole Olympic competition, even though the Australians didn't do as well as they would have liked. They were under the pump, only 3 of them racing together as well. And I think Richie Porte had a lot taken out of him racing at the Tour.
Yeah, and they've got hopes, of course, with Rowan Dennis in the time trial a little bit later in the week. Ned, thank you very much for that. Look forward to catching up with you and hearing more across the weekend in terms of Olympic updates.
No problem, Joel. Cheers.
Ned Hall there, keeping an eye across everything from Tokyo. That's Olympic road race this afternoon, absolutely outstanding. Richard Carapaz, he's known as the Condor of Ecuador, and he swooped on the gold this afternoon. No luck for Richie Porte. And the Matildas, Berkey, as you were watching a little bit earlier as our Olympic correspondent here in the box.
Yes.
That was the penalty save from the Swedish keeper on Sam Kerr, but that's going to be The contest between the Matildas and New Zealand the other night was pretty massive. I reckon now that we're into the swing of the games, that Matildas US women's national team match later this week is going to be one hell of an event.
It will, especially when you consider that the top 2 in each group go through, and then the 2 best third places. So if we win, obviously we go through, but it's got to come down to goal difference as well. So 4-2 tonight, even though we kicked 2, it's not great that we're 2 behind, and we only managed to beat New Zealand by 1.
And conceded late against New Zealand, so that goal difference might be telling the Olympics. It's such a strange build-up, but now that it's here, it feels so normal to be talking about all these sports and a real smorgasbord of sport over the next couple of weeks, that is for sure, in Australia, with plenty of medal hopes, as you heard from Ned in the update. And we'll have updates with Ned across the course of the weekend throughout our AFL coverage. Great to have you with us on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill. Joel Peterson and Jess Webster calling the action for you. David Parkin and Nathan Burke are your experts. Parker, you've spoken about the spirit that this game's been played at in the first half with 15 goals. How hard is that as a player to maintain throughout the course of, I guess, the next 60 minutes here in the second half?
I'm not sure that it's going to be hard to make. I think the game is evoking the kind of response you want from the individuals and the collective team. We've got a 15-point differential at the moment in favour of Adelaide, but I would think this game has been terrific for us to watch. It is a good contest. I reckon they'd feel the same way. So I don't think there'll be a lessening of approach or attitude or whatever you like to call commitment to it. It's just that possessions Hawthorn have been equal to, just about the same number, but they've certainly, they being Adelaide, have certainly made the most of their ball, going to 50 with some terrific kicks, some good strong markings, but on the lead, they've been terrific. I think we've got a game. I wouldn't be surprised if the third term saw Hawthorn get right back into it and we'll get a classic last quarter contest here.
So it was Adelaide by 12 points at quarter time, by 15 at the half. What will the second half have in store for us at Dockland Stadium here in Melbourne? It'll be Reeves against O'Brien in the ruck to get this third quarter underway. Ken Hawthorn makes some inroads on this lead that Adelaide have held for majority of the night. As from the ball up, Mitchell is tackled with the ball. It spills out to Seisman of the Crows. He's dispossessed. It spills to Laird, back to Seisman by hand. A quick kick around the corner towards half forward over the head of Frost of Hawthorn. It spills towards the boundary line, and Berry can't quite trap it, and the boundary line beats everybody, and we will have a throw-in 50 metres around from Adelaide's goal.
It wasn't pretty, but that's classic, isn't it? They just, with ferocity at the ball and quick movement, hand and foot, were able to get the ball in for this throw-in in their front half.
Both medical subs yet to be used. Sean Burgoyne for the Hawks, Dave McKay for the Crows. Inside defensive 50 for Hawthorn. Mitchell tumbles one up the dock side, taken by Bruce. Hands off to Howe. Kick was smothered as he tried to get it away. And it's over for a throw-in in front of the Crows interchange and underneath our broadcast position here. And Nathan Burke has been providing plenty of feedback to the players out there this evening with the direct line.
Feedback to the boundary umpire too. Get your thumbs behind the ball when they throw it to you.
That one's spinning back into play. Thoughts on that, Berkey? That was right behind that. That was a pretty nice work. And that's nice work as well as Mitchell goes to Shields, who kicks inside the 50, and Frampton peels off nicely for the Crows in defence.
Hasn't he become a good player down there?
He is looking promising, Billy Frampton. He's the WA product who spent, all of his time at Port Adelaide and then Adelaide as a key forward. He got thrown back in the last quarter against Essendon a few weeks ago, and they liked what they saw. They put him behind the footy against North Adelaide in the Sandford last week. He had 31 and 13 marks, and he's doing some nice things early here as Kelly kicks up the wing for the Crows, and Himmelberg's got it again in front of the interchange.
So margin 15 points. We played a couple of minutes in this third term as Himmelberg goes long down the wing with the kick. Spills out the back to Fogarty, hands it off to Berry. He just can't quite trap it. Now it's a turnover. And Hardwick, he's dispossessed with the footy. Spills to Howley, coughs it up to Fogarty. Throws it on the boot in the Tex Walker direction in a one-on-one against Hardwick. Gets the fist in. Forces a neutral ball. Phillips goes in. He can't collect it. Now Keys pounces on it. Evades a couple. Throws it on the boot. Doesn't have much on it. Frost for Hawthorn. Dishes to Phillips, who hands it to Bramble, and the Hawks are away.
So Bramble outside the defensive 50. It was an awkward kick in the end as he was closed in upon. Had to tumble it to Lewis, who's hemmed in along the boundary line. He tumbles it forward, but only as far as Lynch for the Crows. Intelligent handball to Sloan, who doesn't break stride. Gets to 55, sends it toward home, and Hardwick is there. And he marked that between the point and the goalpost, came back through the goalpost, so that will be a rushed behind. Only the second behind for Adelaide. Blake Hardwick marked it on the behind line, kicked it back over the goal line. So Adelaide's second behind of the night is scored. Their lead is 16 points at the 3-minute mark of the third term.
So Murphy's come off injured for the Crows. We'll keep our eyes on that one as Hawthorn work the ball towards right half back, where Howe marks just inside the boundary line. Short kick on the 45 to Mitchell.
Had surgery on an ankle earlier in the year, Lockie Murphy, so...
He doesn't look good either. Mitchell, he goes for the short option to Cousins, and now they've coughed it up, have Hawthorn. It spills to Keys for the Crows to Laird. Short kick inside 50 to Tex Walker. He's marked 50 metres out from goal, right against the boundary line.
Murphy attacked the ball really, really hard there in the contest and ended up on the ground, but straight away put the hand up and came running straight off. He knew he'd done something rather serious, but managed to get off under his own steam.
So it was his right ankle that he had surgery on earlier in the year, and it's his right ankle that looks to be bothering him now.
Yeah, they've taken the boots off as well, as Walker, meanwhile, has the shot on goal. It's a little bit narrow. In fact, it's way narrow. It's gone out of bounds on the full. So,
did you wrap him up being a good shot for goal, David?
I
put the moz on him.
I wasn't going to mention that. I was thinking it though.
Well, Berkey's got that nature.
So the Hawks through Granger Barras brings it back into play. Might have been his first kick for the evening, only his second so far for the youngster. He couldn't find a teammate on the end of it. It's Mills around. Butts gave it away, and now Wingard and O'Meara combine. Bramble to Warple. Through the centre of the ground, a handball to Mitchell. Defensive side of the centre circles. Blasts one toward half forward for the Hawks. Kelly got nudged under it by Bruce. Free kick. That time, Parko wasn't paid.
Hooray.
But Mitchell's come streaming through the middle, and every Hawthorn player was running back towards goals. Just turn around, come back at him. You defender's going to keep running towards goals.
Just kicked a rainmaker toward the 50. Dave McKay warming up alongside the boundary as the Crows bring it back the other way. Kelly finds Fogarty, who's got it centre of the city wing. The Crows by 16 points.
Kick towards half forward. Sloan Marks going back with a flight of the ball. Hands it to Scholl, who hand passes to Laird. Nice kick inside 50. Finds Keys in a bit of space, and he will have a shot on goal. 30 metres, about 35 metres out, I reckon, on a slight angle to the right.
They have dominated, they being Adelaide, have dominated the first 4 or 5 minutes of this game. In the contest, numbers of opportunity when people are leading for the ball, and their disposal has been twice as good as Hawthorn, both hand and foot.
So Keys has taken his game to another level in 2021. The former Brisbane Lion is really making an impact at his second club. As he comes in from 35, it's a beautiful shot on goal, and Keys has his first for the afternoon, and the Crows edge their lead back out to 22 points as 10-2-62 plays Hawthorn 6-4-40, 6 minutes played in the third term. As we have another look at David McKay on the boundary line, he's taken the jumper off. It looks like he's warming up even further as Murphy down on the boundary line. He's got the right boot off, just in the hands with the physios, and the doctors have just given him a bit of a pat on the back. It doesn't look good, and we probably expect Murphy to be subbed out of the game and David McKay to come in.
Lovely story about Keys. I think your call was exactly right. I thought he was a struggling performer up north. Came on, did little bits here and there, and it looked like he had the talent. But since he's blossomed, absolutely blossomed, he's become one of the key performers for this Adelaide team.
15 disposals and a goal. He had 32 goals last week. 9 times he's had 30 disposals this season after coming on leaps and bounds late last year, and Adelaide really only got him for a can of Coke and a bag of Skittles. They didn't have to pay much to get him, and he is providing very big dividends. Wingard takes a free kick from the centre, hits up Moore on the lead. Handball back to Wingard, who offloads to Warple, who kicks to full forward. No mark there for the Hawks, but Phillips is there to rove again, as he did in the first term. Tom Phillips squeezes a goal through for Hawthorn. Among the pack, 25 out, it fell in his lap, and he's able to jam it home and narrow the gap back to 16 points. The Hawks 7-4-46, Adelaide 10-2-62, 7.5 minutes gone, third term on Grandstand AFL.
Just at the MCG, it's 8 minutes to go in the third quarter. It's Bulldogs winning by 13 points, and Cody Waitman has just taken a contender for Mark of the Year. An absolute ripper. Yep.
That must be about 26 of them.
Oh, it was a beauty
so far.
But the young fella, rookie mistake, he sort of played on really quickly. Didn't get time to actually have the replay and soak in the adulation. But that's what I used to do when I took speckies.
That was once in your career.
In the playground. When I was a teacher. Against the grade ones that I used to teach.
So we're back in the middle. O'Brien falls over, but manages to get boot to ball. It goes 10 metres. Mitchell picks it up for Hawthorn. It's taken high, and he will win himself a free kick.
Bit lucky there.
It's Warple, in fact. So Warple, short kick to McAvoy. Still inside the centre square of Hawthorn. Now called to go on McAvoy, so kicks wide to half forward. Shields is spoiled away by Seedsman. The ball spills to the boundary line. Granger Barras runs out of real estate. His handball goes over the boundary line, and we will have a throw-in right below us on near the interchange gates on the dockside wing.
The captain's got to be more definite. Then he stands on the mark, doesn't go back, looks to play on left, right and centre and everything else, and then mucks it up.
I've just seen the Waitman mark on the TV screen next door, and wowee, what a mark.
That is a nice grab, coming right over the top of Max Gawn, no less, who's making a habit of getting big marks taken upon him is Big Max from the throw-in. Seedsman has a go. He's taken down in a good tackle by Cousins. Just forward of the wing, O'Meara has it for Hawthorn. Kicks inside the forward 50. McPherson up, couldn't take it. Did his own roving. Handball to Douday, now to Hamill, hard up against the boundary line for the Crows. Long kick up the wing. Himmelberg presents, knocks it down. Schonberg left it behind. Riley O'Brien went and got it. Cousins rode Seedsman into the turf, and he bounced straight back up to his feet, did Paul Seedsman. Tumbled it down the wing to Berry. Granger Barras in over the top to knock it out of play in front of the Hawthorn interchange. And we will have a throw in. Centre of the dock swing, Adelaide 10-2, Hawthorn 7-4, a goal apiece here in the third term through 10 minutes.
Some of the tackling has been really ferocious, we've seen in this quarter. They haven't all stuck, but they're flying in.
So O'Brien wins the footy from the throw-in. Players are scrapping for it. McAvoy goes in, hands it to Wingard, just kicks a high up and under kick. He's about 20 metres forward. Lewis is fisted away by Frampton. He's having some game in defence. The ball spills to Warple of Hawthorn. He kicks up towards half forward. A pack forms. Off hands, it spills to ground level. Coming through is Hamill of the Crows. He's tackled, tries to get the hands free. He does pretty well in the end to Scholl. He's tackled over the boundary line. Forces a ball in between wing and half forward.
That was great, Hamill, to get double tackle on him, to get round the right direction and actually get the ball out to their advantage. It was a fantastic effort.
Good news for the Crows. It looks like Murphy is going to be okay. He was standing up in the boundary line waiting to come back on.
Yep. Jess and I had him in the rooms and going to the hospital, and he's ready to come back onto the ground. Shields tumbles it inside forward 50 for the Hawks. 2 days there on the last line. He's such an important player coming back into this Adelaide team. Butts drives it long outside the defensive 50. In fact, Kelly it was. It ends up in Hawthorn hands. Scrimshaw got it from Granger Barras. Handball loop to Warple. Tries to get away from Fogarty. Just got the handball away. Only as far as Laird. Handball to Schonberg, who sees open space in front of him. Kicks to centre half forward, and Hardigan collects on the half volley comfortably for Hawthorn. Handball to Phillips, sends it wide. The 236ers in Moore and McPherson are there. Moore did good work at ground level. And then he threw it on his boot. An awkward kick just lobs up the wing. Lewis gets in there for Hawthorn to take it. Takes a divot as he kicked it forward. Duday's there at right half back for the Crows. Goes to ground. It's knocked around in the stoppage. Jones went low. Did he give away a free kick for the slide rule there? He did. He certainly should have and did.
Like that rule, love it.
Free kick to the Hawks and Bramble, who goes inside the 50, and the contest in front there of Hamill petered out. Duday did a good job to come across and make sure there wasn't going to be a Hawthorn mark, and Hamill's got it in the right back pocket.
I'm not so sure. I'm not convinced about Murphy because McKay is still warming up along the boundary line, guys, so we'll keep an eye on that injury for you, but
Might just be cold.
Might just be cold indeed. So the Crows kick down the outer wing is turned over, and now it's a 50-metre penalty against the Crows, and Scrimshaw is going to be marched to within goal-kicking distance here for Hawthorn.
Himmelberg was on the mark. I'm not sure whether it was somebody running past. Hang on, we've got Murphy on the boundary line here, and we've got McKay warming up.
The moment of truth.
Here it is. Who's coming off?
So meanwhile, O'Brien's going to have this shot on goal. So he'll kick it from around 40 metres out on a slight angle. He leans back on it, and that's another goal for Hawthorn. They've managed to cut the margin back to 10 points, still creeping up on Adelaide's lead. 10-2-62 Hawthorn, 8-4-52, 13 minutes played, third term, and the Hawks just keep coming.
Yeah, I'm amazed because I think when I watch this game and the way it develops, the better football in terms of the ability to win it, the ability to make a good decision, the ability to use it, and the ability to close the opposition down. In my view, watching it, Adelaide is so much better not so much better, but are better in each of those departments. They're hanging in Hawthorn, and they've been able to keep in the game, and they're a chance, and they might get a bit of a sniff, and it might lift everybody.
Well, it's exactly the same the way last week's game played out. Melbourne were the better team for 3.25 quarters, and Hawthorn were just
stuck at
hanging in there. They were pesky, they were a nuisance, and almost pinched it right at the end, so could do something similar.
They're not going to go down without a fight, that is for sure. Back in the middle, O'Brien knocks it down to Laird, who's taken in the tackle, and then gets a little bit of afters from Tom Mitchell. Rory Laird up to 22 disposals, averaging 32 on the season. Such a prolific ball winner in the middle for the Crows, whether half back where he's been an All-Australian a couple of times, or now diving in over the footy as he was there to try and knock it free. Seedsman goes in for the Crows. Handball to Keys. Jams a kick out of the contest. Fogarty came steaming out and knocked the football away from Scrimshaw. It's spilt to Frost, who kicked to the broadcast side wing. Kajitsky up to meet it for the Hawks. Gathered nicely. Handball to Hardwick. Handball to Bramble. who tries to burn the tackle there of Seedsman. Got away from him. Kicks along the boundary line. Moore up to meet it again. He's a bundle of energy, Dylan Moore, and he's got it on the centre wing broadcast side.
He has a man free inside the centre square is Scrimshaw, who wanted to keep switching the play but instead changed his mind and chipped it back to Bramble. And he goes back to Scrimshaw, inboard, fakes one way, then kicks long towards a dangerous position out the back. Bruce has kicked a goal for Hawthorn. Of course it's Luke Bruce for Hawthorn. Gets the ball over the back, snaps a goal, and Hawthorn have 3 in a row here at Dockland Stadium and cut the margin back to 4 points. Adelaide 10-2-62. Hawthorn 9-4-58. 15 minutes gone, third term.
Well, they're having a discussion in the back half because 3 Adelaide defenders all went against each other, and it should have at least come to the front, but against that it bobbled over the back and blow me down. Luke Bruce down there all by himself and put it through. He's a gem though, Bruce, to being able to read that situation and get the best result possible. So I'm giving him some plaudits for that.
And well done by Scrimshaw as well, running off that centre half back line. Did it once, almost played on, thought he was going to get himself into trouble, but had enough composure to find a target, ran on again, and a good low hard kick to a really dangerous spot, 12-15 metres out from goal, where Luke Bruce can do his work.
30th goal for Luke Bruce on the season. He has kicked 30 goals in every season he has featured in, apart from 2020, which is a rather remarkable record for a man who was taken in the rookie draft in 2009. He has been such a warrior for Hawthorn from the middle. The Crows take it away. O'Brien fed it wide to Sloan, who chipped it forward to Lynch, who got taken high in the tackle by Hartigan.
Bad tackle.
And so Tom Lynch has got the football at right half forward for the Crows, who seek an answer to Hawthorn's 3 consecutive goals. 65 metres out. He kicks a worm burner to Darcy Fogarty. Barely got above his bootlaces and Fogarty went down low to take it. That was a stinger from Tom Lynch.
It was meant, I guess, wasn't it? It was.
I don't know about that,
I have never seen a kick that one. I thought it was cutting the grass as it went along. It was unbelievable.
It certainly gives the defender no chance to
at all.
that.
But rewarded for the lead and the good low kick.
And this man usually finds a way to finish things off. Darcy Fogarty from right on the 50 steps up to the plate and misses. Yep, that'll be right. That is the 11th behind of Darcy Fogarty's career in game number 37. 10-3-63 the Crows, 9-4-58 the Hawks, 17 and a half gone in the third term.
So Hardwick with the kick in for Hawthorn, finds Scrimshaw in the right back pocket. It's marked in front of Tex Walker. He's kicked 3 goals tonight. So Scrimshaw just loads up and sends it outside of the danger zone towards the wing. It goes over the back of a few players. Frampton bustled out of it by Cousins. It falls Hawthorn's way. Warple, he's trying to get away from McPherson. But he ran him down. He just grabbed his arm and Warple had nowhere to go. And McPherson, he's kicked it inside the centre square and turned it right over to O'Brien. So Hawthorn still with the footy. O'Brien kicks out wide to Phillips from inside the centre square. A kick towards Bruce at left half forward. Spills the mark but collects the footy at ground level. Handballs over the top to Cousins. Handballs backwards to Moore, who's tied up against the boundary line. Kick inside the corridor and Mitchell marks.
I got to talk that Warple one was a bit when you see a player running fat after he pushes his left hand out, got the ball under the right arm, puts left hand out to push the player away. The player being pushed away grabs hold of his arm and tips him over. It was very enjoyable, very humorous, very clever.
So Frampton's come to the bench too, looking a little worse for wear. There was a heavy hit on the dockside wing, and he looking a little bit groggy and in the hands of the doctors for Adelaide. Meanwhile, Mitchell lets go from 35 metres out. He's not going to miss that, the Brownlow medalist. Hawthorn, again, bring the margin. Actually, they've hit the lead. This is the Hawthorn have actually hit the lead. It just kind of crept up on everybody. Haven't led in this game since the early stages of the first term when they kicked the first behind of the game. But Hawthorn have hit the front here at Dockland Stadium. 10-4-64, lead Adelaide 10-3-63. 20 minutes gone, third term.
A worrying sign for Adelaide is that the ball was bouncing around in the forward pocket for Hawthorn. I can't remember the Hawthorn player, but they just snapped the ball really high to around about 25 metres out from goal, and there was 3 Hawthorn players there. And there was no Adelaide player really making that gut-busting effort to try and spoil it. And how do 3 Hawthorn players get together that far out from goal together? So is the run from the Crows just starting to drop off?
So Tom Mitchell puts the Hawks in front. He was the man who ran into Billy Frampton, who came to the bench in those exchanges. From the restart, again, it's the Crows who take the clearance, but they need to make better use of it. Laird got it to Schonberg. It's a Hamill who wobbled a copter inside the 50, and Lockie Murphy read it best in the pack and clutched it to his chest. 40 metres out, slight angle to the right of centre. The man who was... we had him in the medical cart a few moments ago.
Yes, he was had the leg in plaster, according to you guys, almost amputated, but here he is.
So Lockie Murphy back out there on the left boot. There is nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with the kick. Murphy gives Adelaide back the lead straight away here at Docklands. 11-3-69 the Crows. Hawthorn 10-4-64. A brace for Lockie Murphy. 21 minutes gone in the third term on Grandstand AFL.
And we've talked about the skill level. We've enjoyed the game because of the method and the high levels of handball and kicking skills. But when you look at that, 11-3 to 10-4, pretty unusual this day and age because of the pressure which is being applied, both the physical pressure and the mental pressure which is applied to players. It's been a terrific game for us to be here and entertained in the manner which we are.
It's three-quarter time at the MCG. It's a 14-point lead to the Western Bulldogs. 7-9-51 Melbourne to 10-5-65 the Bulldogs.
Thanks, Berkey, with the around the ground updates.
I feel like we need some rain sort of trickling down when you come in with those updates, Berkey.
From the restart. And Mitchell gets boot to ball, but it spilled the way of Laird for the Crows. Umpires put out a free kick going Hawthorn's way off the ball.
I was trying to see what it was. I don't know if anybody else did, but I couldn't.
No.
It's going against Schoenberg and O'Meara, and potentially we're just having a look on the replay. O'Meara just takes off and sends the ball inside 50, off hands, and it spills to Shields. He's met heavily in a tackle. That's holding the ball.
Good call.
Will Hamill, good tackle there on Shields and wins the free kick for Adelaide.
Very good tackle.
Growing into things, Will Hamill from the Peninsula here in Victoria. Chips short to Seedsman, now to Laird. 22 minutes gone, third term. Crows by 5 points, led by 12 points at quarter time, 15 points at half time. Kicked the opening 3 goals of the game. Hawthorn kicked 3 goals in a row here in this term to hit the front. And Lockie Murphy returned the Crows to the lead. Off the pack, O'Meara. Nice fend off on McHenry. Handball to Howe, who was chased down by McHenry. Just got the kick away into the corridor, a dangerous ball. Free kick, no advantage paid as Smith whips one inside the forward 50 on the right boot. It bounces off a couple of chests. Taken by McPherson to Keys, who's already kicked one in the term. Lights the sticks up from 45, but tugs his kick to the right.
Bad miss.
And makes it a one straight kick margin. 11-4 plays 10-4. Crows ahead. 23 minutes gone in the third term on Grandstand AFL.
So Hardwick with the kick-in duties for Hawthorn, goes for a bit of a run and then just sends a long one outside defensive 50. O'Brien had 2 to beat, off hands, falls to Seedsman, who kicks it back inside forward 50. No one home for the Crows, and Hardwick takes the defensive mark. Kicks across the face of goal to Hardwick, who handballs to Granger Barras. Under pressure with the kick, a 50-50 ball. Phillips lays the tackle and to force a neutral. And at the bottom of the pack, getting up for Adelaide Crows is Jones. So ball still inside attack for the Adelaide Crows. 23 minutes played, third term. The margin is 6 points. So from the ball up, coming through hard was Frost. He can't take the footy with him though. Ball still in dispute. Granger Barras wins it for Hawthorn, gives it to Phillips, gives it to Mitchell. Backwards with by hand to Hardwick, who high up and under kick outside defensive 50. Jones takes the intercept mark for Adelaide and will send them back into attack from right half forward.
Like a lunging catch at gully there from Chase Jones. Coming forward, taking it low down, pokes it inside the forward 50. A big fist from Reeves, clears the area, straight to Laird, who throws it on the boot, goes bang back the other way. Rory Laird with the rebound result for Adelaide. And the Crows have got a couple in a row now to answer the Hawthorn challenge. 12-4-76 Adelaide. Hawthorn 10-4-64. Rory Laird doesn't kick many of them. He's only kicked 1 goal 5 from his 17 games coming into tonight and adds a second on the season there.
Joel, I wonder whether I saw it the same as you, Blake, but he in fact had to kick it off the outside of his right foot. I mean, it travelled 45 or 50 metres, but because he was running diagonally across the channel, across the corridor, he had to kick it fair distance, but off the right foot.
And
I thought
getting a shove,
getting tackled at the same time. I thought, gee, don't underestimate how good that was.
Yeah, smart. He knew he didn't have time to actually get the ball properly, like a drop punt in his hand. But to get the ball down haphazardly like that, but still get the ball to go straight. He's up to 26 possessions, the most on the ground, and 1 goal.
So good news for Crows fans. Billy Frampton's back out there on the ground after that heavy hit. Meanwhile, from the centre of the ground, Crows win the clearance. Little kick along the ground. Goes about 20 metres. The players dive on top of it and forces a neutral.
They've just lifted their rating a little bit in the last few minutes, Adelaide, as a group.
So O'Brien wins the hit out. Mitchell first to meet it for the Hawks. And now Cousins, little handball to Hardwick, who gives it to Mitchell. Now handballs forward to Howe. Is corralled by Keys. Hands it backwards to O'Meara. Hand passes to Mitchell. They've got it to half forward of the Hawks. Mitchell just brushes off one. Sends it in the Lewis direction. Got hands on it. Couldn't complete the mark. And Duday for Adelaide with the rebound for the Crows. A nice pass. Hit Seedsman on the chest at right half back.
Should have marked that, Lewis. It was almost uncontested in the end.
Seedsman chips short to O'Brien. City side wing. Now to Lynch, who got pushed after he marked. Umpire said that's okay. Lynch pokes it on over the top. Brodie Smith has got it between the wing and half forward. 2 kicks from home for Adelaide. Or maybe Brodie Smith, it's about a kick and a quarter. He's about 80 metres out, if that gives you some context. He 9-irons it into the pocket. Himmelberg and O'Brien are up. Oh, Schonberg stayed down, ran to the pocket, summed things up, tried to put it back toward goal and sprayed it across the face. He did all the good work initially, Harry Schonberg, but couldn't find the finish. Out of bounds on the full.
The banana went the other way.
It'll be taken. It was one of those straight bananas you sometimes see in the supermarket. It'll be taken by Moore on the last line for Hawthorn here.
So Moore just runs around the man on the mark, drives a kick outside defensive 50 over the head of Lewis, out the back. Duday for the Crows, but he runs over the boundary line and we will have a throw-in just forward of the interchange gates on the dockside wing. Adelaide...
No, go on. Sorry, she's a slug. She really is. The players are starting to feel the physicality of this game.
Adelaide by 12 points, 27 minutes gone in the third term. O'Meara extracts the footy from the throw-in, gives it to Scrimshaw, hands it to Bramble, goes for a run, has a bounce. Now handballs forward to Cousins. He's dispossessed, or no, he's back into a tackle. Hands it out to Warple. He had 3 to beat. Sends Hawks into attack. No one home there and taking the defensive mark as Kelly, I thought for sure he was going to be dispossessed.
Kelly, another out-of-contract Crow at the end of the season. Awkward kick to Murphy, who set Schonberg a task. He was equal to it. Jammed it on the boot outside the defensive 50 into the centre square. Lovely tap-on from Berry. That was really intelligent stuff. Got it to Lynch. Now a handball to the running Ben Keys, who goes inside the 50 for Walker. Texas got it right forward pocket. 5 in from the boundary. Hard up against the fence.
That was a good kick by Keys over the top, well weighted. Should have been a right foot kick, but he was clever enough to get it onto the left.
Yeah, exactly.
So Tex is pulling the socks up, putting the mouthguard in the right forward pocket. He starts his approach from on the AstroTurf.
It's come to a left foot snap from 50.
3 goals so far for Taylor Walker. Hits the fat part of the footy. It falls shallow into the pocket. Granger Barras over the top to spike it. The ball almost had so much backspin on it, it stopped on the behind line, and the Hawks have kept it alive here. Frost got it to Moore, who measured the kick well, as you said, Parko, to Cousins, and now Cousins goes to Hardwick, and the Hawks will get out of trouble from the right back pocket. They trail by 12 points, closing in on 3/4 time.
So Hardwick wants to switch the footy. He's got a man out wide and Hardigan. And he has Howe and hits him on the chest. He's got a bit of space to move. It just kind of trots off and then pops it past to Scrimshaw, close against the boundary line, kicks it to Cousins. So Hawthorn a bit slow to move the footy as Cousins just winds up and sends it into the pocket. Lewis will have a fly at this. Again, can't complete the mark. The ball spills to ground and forces a ball up as the players dive on it. We'll have a throw up.
If you slow down with the ball when you're running like that, everybody else slows down to see what you're doing. You've just got to accelerate with the ball.
So up they go inside forward 50 here for the Hawks. Jones will run away with it for the Crows. Handball to Schonberg. Kicks Adelaide into their attacking half. Hardwick getting back there for the Hawks. Out to O'Brien, to Bramble, who dives in just defensive side of the wing. He chips it defensively to O'Brien. And it's 2 goals as we turn for home here at Docklands. Adelaide 12-4-76 to Hawthorn 10-4-64, a term in which the Crows were challenged. Hawthorn strung together 3 consecutive goals in the mid part of the quarter, but they were able to find an answer first through Lockie Murphy and then a nice bit of traffic or work in traffic from Rory Laird, and it is Adelaide seeking a 6th victory of the season and revenge for a close fought thing against Hawthorn in round 6, who lead 12-4-76 to 10-4-64 at half-time. Goals for the Crows, 3 to Walker, 2 to Murphy and to Fogarty. Singles to Elliot Himmelberg, Rory Laird, Tom Lynch and Ben Keys. For Hawthorn, 2 goals to Mitch Lewis and 2 to Tom Phillips. Singles to Tom Mitchell, James Warple, Luke Bruce, Jacob Kajitsky and Dylan Law. At the MCG early in the last quarter, it's the Western Bulldogs by 16 points, 67-51. We'll get our Around the Grounds correspondent Nathan Burke to give us a more detailed summary of that on the other side of the 3-quarter time break. But here as we turn for home at Docklands, it's the Crows by 12 points, 76 plays 64 on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill and ABC Sport Digital. This is Grandstand AFL.
What do you think makes someone an Australian of the Year?
It's people who show courage, sacrifice and kindness.
Now's the time to reflect
on your community
and who you admire.
Now's the time to respect
by nominating and acknowledging them.
Now's the time to celebrate
their story, their contribution and their generosity.
I'm Hamish McDonald and I'd love you to nominate your inspirational Australian by the 31st of July at australianoftheyear.org.au.
Be part of the Grandstand Sport team on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Search ABC Sport and see a world of great sport content for you to explore.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
Sloan marks going back with the flood of the ball. Hands it to Scholl, who hand passes to Laird. Nice kick inside 50. Finds Keys in a bit of space and he will have a shot on goal as he comes in from 35. It's a beautiful shot on goal and Keys has his first.
Handball back to Wingard, who offloads to Warple, who kicks to full forward. No mark there for the Hawks, but Phillips is there to rove again as he did in the first term. Tom Phillips squeezes a goal through for Hawthorn.
Grimshaw inboard, fakes one way, then kicks long towards a dangerous position out the back. Bruce has kicked a goal for Hawthorn. Of course it's Luke Bruce for Hawthorn. Handballs backwards to Moore, who's tied up against the boundary line. Kick inside the corridor and Mitchell marks. Mitchell lets go from 35 metres out. He's not going to miss that, the Brownlow medalist. Hawthorn, they've hit the lead.
To Schonberg, to Hamill, who wobbled a copter inside the 50. And Lockie Murphy read it best in the pack and clutched it to his chest. But Lockie Murphy back out there on the left boot. There is nothing wrong with him. There's nothing wrong with the kick. Murphy gives Adelaide back the lead straight away. Big fist from Reeves, clears the area straight to Laird, who throws it on the boot, goes bang back the other way. Rory Laird with the rebound result for Adelaide. And the Crows have got a couple in a row now to answer the Hawthorn challenge.
The 2021 AFL Premiership season on ABC Radio and on ABC Sport Digital.
3 in a row to the Hawks in the middle part of the term, and you thought it was really game on. They hit the front for the first time since the opening quarter, and that was where they stopped after a goal to Tom Mitchell at the 19-minute mark. It was all Adelaide finishing the quarter off with 2 goals, the goals to Murphy and Laird. handing the Crows a 12-point lead as we turn for home, and Matthew Nix addresses his charges at three-quarter time. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill, and ABC Sport Digital on a pretty chilly Saturday evening. And hopefully we can keep you company through this period of lockdown. Signs sounding pretty positive from Stephen Marshall's COVID press conference today that at least for South Australia there might be a lifting of it, and hopefully some footy in the next couple of weeks with a showdown looming on the horizon as well at the Adelaide Oval with any luck. 12-point lead here to Adelaide at three-quarter time. Before we get the thoughts of Nathan Burke and David Parkin on this game, Berkey is acting in as our around the grounds correspondent at the MCG, where the rain is coming down, and it's been a bit of a slug throughout the most part, Berkey, and the Dogs are holding sway.
Dogs are holding sway, 16 points up at the 14 minutes to go in the last quarter. Ben Brown just had a shot to get it back within 10 points and put it out on the full. So unfortunate for Big Ben. Do you want major goal kickers and anything like that?
I'll take whatever you've got.
Major goal kickers are two. Josh Bruce, Bailey Fritsch, Aaron Norton all got two. Then there's lots of guys who've kicked one. In terms of disposals, Clayton Oliver with 35. Jack McRae got 32. He just started the game with 30, so he's only had two. Caleb Daniel with 29, Bontempelli 26, Petrarca 26. So all the big guns are getting plenty of footy over there at the MCG, Joel.
There you go. I reckon the papers have just got their match report for the Rags tomorrow, Berkey. 16 points the way of the Dogs. David Parkin here at three-quarter time. It is 12 points the way of the Crows, who did pretty well at the end of that term to answer the challenge.
They did, Joel. I mean, it's been pretty convincing because I think twice during the game Hawthorn have come, got some control over the ball, and their usage was pretty good, and have got back to and in fact passed them in the third quarter. And I thought now we have a really close, hard contest on our hands. Wasn't to be, because when the gauntlet was thrown down, Adelaide were good enough to pick up and run with it and score reasonably heavily to suggest that they are convincingly in charge of this game, despite what Hawthorn might be able to throw at them.
Yeah, the worry for the Hawks is that the marks inside 50 are at 11-5 in favour of Adelaide. They can't let them mark the ball inside 50 or this will blow out even further.
It's been straight shooting and plenty of shooting in this game. 22 goals, 8 kicked between the two sides, and we're away in the last term. The Crows up by 2 goals as Keys wobbles one inside the forward 50 for Adelaide to start us off. McHenry on the edge of the arc is run down by O'Meara, caught holding the ball. Jager dropped a bomb on Ned McHenry and brought him down. And he takes the free kick at the top of the defensive arc for the Hawks, spins the footy in his hands, launches one up the pipe. Butt's got a hand to it for the Crows, knocked it down. Coming up to meet it was Bruce, got it off to Wingard from 60 metres out, sends it to full forward for Hawthorn. Brockman goes up, pulls it in and knocks it through.
Oh, good start.
That is the start they were after, David Parkin. The Hawks with an early goal here in the final term. 11-4-70 Hawthorn. Adelaide 12-4-76. And Tyler Brockman's first intervention into the game tonight in the scoring capacity gives Hawthorn their first of the last term.
And the start came from O'Meara.
Yep.
He doesn't do too many of them. He put a sensational tackle on at half-back and then delivered the ball through the corridor, and a goal resulted from that fantastic defensive play.
Brockman has got a little bit of X factor about him. Hasn't done a lot, hasn't had the football a great deal tonight. He's only had the 5 possessions. But early in the game, he zigzagged around 4 or 5 people, just made a wrong decision when he actually kicked the ball forward. But even last week, saw a couple of signs that he's got that bit of X factor that when he finds his feet at this level, could get a lot of highlights for Hawthorn supporters.
So we're back in the middle. McAvoy loses his footing lead, picks it up for the Crows. Just a rush kick towards half forward. Standing in front position is Frost of Hawthorn. Takes the mark in front of Fogarty. Called to play on. He wants to switch the ball out wide. Phillips has to do some work to make it a contest. Falls to ground. Seedsman picks it up for the Crows. Kicks inside forward 50. Looking for Fogarty. Bounces away from him. Frost collects for Hawthorn. Handballs to Bramble. Hand passes forward to Phillips. He's just got to get around a few handballs backwards to Bramble, close against the boundary line, tries to handball underneath Seedsman or through Seedsman's legs, but he ended up handballing into his legs and then ricocheted over the boundary line for out in the full. It may have been as intentional along.
No, it was absolutely intentional.
So Bramble has the footy right half back for Hawthorn. Long kick up the wing, and the umpire's found a free kick for a block, and it'll go to McAvoy of Hawthorn.
So McAvoy flares it wide for the run of Phillips, who marks 70 out from Hawthorn's goal. Has a couple of leads inside the 50. Puts it over the head of Kajitsky, and Duday drops off in defence for the Crows. Arms outstretched above his head, takes a telling defensive mark.
He's become a very good player, Joel.
Duday's opponent has to get body on him and just say, I'm going to sacrifice my own game a little bit to keep him out of the intercepting.
Top 10 in the competition for intercepts at 7.9 a game. Of course, he had the ACL injury that wrecked his 2019. And he's been such a strong contributor, probably a future captain of the club. He's so highly rated at Adelaide is Tom Duday, and showing why again tonight. Meanwhile, ball to be thrown back in between the wing and half forward. The Hawks trail by 6 points.
Wingard throws it on the boot inside 50. Both Lewis and Frampton had a fly. It spills to ground, and Shields just falls over the pack. The ball's still alive. O'Meara lays a tackle. It falls to Laird, and it is a slinging tackle, in fact, against Laird, and he will win himself a free kick going against Shields. So Laird has the footy for Adelaide in the left back pocket. They lead this contest by 6 points. Early minutes, final term. Laird chips short to Kelly. Kelly wants to kick inboard, has Jones in space. So Adelaide are patient moving this footy out of their defence. It's Jones called to play on. And now kicks to the outer side wing. Bramble with the telling fist for Hawthorn. Spills out the back to Scrimshaw. Handballs backwards to Hardwick. Handballs backwards again to O'Brien. Kicks it back to where it came from. McAvoy has a couple to beat. Goes over his head. Jones takes the mark for Adelaide.
So Jones cuts it inboard. Finds Sloan, who now kicks into midfield, looking for McHenry, who doubles back at the footy, knocks it down, couldn't collect it cleanly. Brockman was in there to slap it on for the Hawks, but Duday came the other way. Handball to Sloan, handball to Smith. Smith on the right boot. A wonderful bit of vision and execution to find Himmelberg in the right forward pocket, who marks, called to play on and missed. Oh, Elliott. He marked 15 metres out in the right forward pocket, took a step off his line. The umpire called him to play on. He ran inside the right hand behind post, and he just kicked it between the point and the goal post as if he sort of thought he was doing the right thing. It was an awful error, and the margin for the Crows is 7 points.
A little bit stiff. Yeah. Oh, don't jump.
So meanwhile, Hawks kick the footy to the wing. They've turned it over though. McPherson, a short kick towards half forward in the direction of McHenry. They've turned it over though. Scrimshaw handballs to O'Meara, who kicks inside the centre square, and McAvoy marks. So McAvoy wants to kick it further out to the wing. Lewis marks on the logo city side wing. Meanwhile, there's a Hawthorn player down.
Brockman.
It is Brockman in the hands of the trainers as Hawthorn kick it up to half forward. Bruce takes the mark just outside forward 50. Sees something he likes in the pocket is Kajitsky. Getting back though courageously was Keys for the Crows, who forces a 50-50 contest. The kick comes in the corridor and McPherson marks for the Crows.
Well done. Brave. There were two Hawthorn players who had a look at each other. McPherson just threw himself in. Well done, young man.
McPherson to Frampton. Frampton chips short again. Schonberg's got it. Adelaide trying to work it methodically out of defence. They lead by 7 points, 6.5 gone in the final term. Fogarty floats across the front of the pack, couldn't take the mark. Scrimshaw handed it off to Mitchell, who got it back to O'Brien, who kicked inside the forward 50 for the Hawks. It's off hands and spills to Hardwick on the edge of the arc. Now to McAvoy, now to Howe, who left it behind. He was running toward the pocket. Duday was up to meet him and take the footy away for the Crows. Handball to Kelly, handball to Schonberg. Handball went looking for Smith, couldn't take it. Howe goes back and gets it. Oh, and then running into the wall was Frost. He somehow got his kick away to Shields. Tackled by Schonberg. Inside forward 50 for the Hawks. The Crows' defence scrambling to clear it. Only as far as Scrimshaw, who goes up over Ned McHenry and pulls the mark in at left half forward for Hawthorn. Nearly caved 50 away there, Ned McHenry. Scrimshaw will take his kick.
This has become a real good contest, Joel. Real good contest. I think both are getting a bit of sniff here.
Sean Burgoyne warming up on the Hawthorn boundary line. I think Brockman, he's pretty much knocked himself out in a tackle, so would not be surprised if Burgoyne comes on.
So Scrimshaw kicks to the pocket looking for Lewis. It's off hands. Boundary throw in 35 metres around from the Hawks' goal. They're pressing. Adelaide lead this one by 7 points. We've played 7 minutes in the opening term.
Good sub to have because he can play anywhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Better than Mason Cox.
So the umpire flicks it back in. There's a little scrimmage and the ball trickles out of boundary, out of play again, and we'll have another boundary throw in, this time 20 metres around from the Hawks' goal.
A little bit more versatile, perhaps, Perky. Ball thrown back in, of course. Mason Cox replaced Scott Pendlebury last night in Collingwood's game against Port Adelaide. Spills around from the stoppage. Moore goes in. Phillips had Seedsman over the top of him. 2 former Pies in there. And now Lewis has given away a free kick. His tackle on Murphy was a little bit hot.
At the MCG, the Demons got back to within 4 points, but Marcus Bontempelli gets the lead for the Dogs back out to 10 points.
Our roaming correspondent Nathan Burke all over that one on Grandstand AFL, alongside David Parkin with you this evening. Great to have your company on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill. Frost absolutely dropped stone cold what he should have taken. Luckily laid the tackle to make up for it just behind the wing as far as Hawthorn are concerned. And we're going to have a ball up. Adelaide 12-5-77, Hawthorn 11-4-70. 9 minutes gone here in the final quarter at Docklands.
So Hawthorn win the footy from the ball up. It spills to Bramble, who just bogs one way and then kicks laterally across the half-back line. Hardwick collects from the logo on the Dockside wing and kicks to Moore at left half forward for Hawthorn, who kick around the body. Did he mean that? It doesn't matter if he didn't, because McAvoy's marked in the left forward pocket for Hawthorn. Moore's kick around the body just fell in his lap and he'll have a shot on goal, 30 metres out, 45-degree angle.
Now help me, Berkey.
I'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay.
I'll give him that one.
I reckon it's the best missed kick I've seen in 20 years.
So Sean Burgoyne, meanwhile, has been activated into the game. Brockman, no, it's actually Cousins who has been subbed out for Hawthorn. We'll try and get some more information on that one. Meanwhile, McAvoy on the approach to cut the margin to a single point. What a beautiful strike from the captain, Ben McAvoy. What a team lifter, and we have a game on our hands here at Docklands. Adelaide 12-5-77, Hawthorn 12-4-76. 10 minutes gone, final term.
We didn't know when we were allocated this game we're going to get the game of the round, did we?
Yeah.
We didn't know that. No, but it is a very good, and it's good quality, and it's getting more, as the game's gone, it's getting more and more difficult to score, but the intensity of the contest, some of the kicking and hand passing under pressure has been superb. We've had a good game, and we've got a fantastic contest to finish.
Ben McAvoy's had the 14 possessions. I wouldn't say he's been conspicuous tonight. He's been a little bit inconspicuous. Riley O'Brien has got the 18 possessions, so it's a bit of a 0-0 draw, but that probably puts him ahead slightly with that goal.
Well, 24 goals, isn't it? 24 goals, 9 for the day. That's unheard of in modern day footy.
So 1 point in it here in the final term at Docklands. Burgoyne injected into the game for Hawthorn as the medical sub. Sloan, in fact Laird puts his head over it there for the Crows. Kick smothered as he entered the 50. Fogarty pulled it in inside the arc. McHenry got it up to Murphy, who snaps it toward goal. It's taken almost an all-time off break. And it's just gone the wrong side of the left-hand goalpost for a minor score. That was tracking out toward the behind post before it spun back.
Great call, Jill. I think it got top spin.
2 points the margin the Crows' way. 12 gone here in the final term.
So Bramble from the left back pocket drives a kick towards the wing. Standing in front is Duday for the Crows. Another mark from This superb defender will send the Crows back into attack. Goes in the Taylor Walker direction. O'Brien from the back with the fist. And Hawthorn have given away a free kick. Looks like it was Laird, who gathered the footy, was copped high by Warple, and he's going to have a shot on goal to extend Adelaide's margin. He'll kick it from about 40 metres out in a 45-degree angle.
Well, he's only kicked the one so far coming up into this game, I think you said, Joel, so he could get his second one tonight, but a badly needed one by the Crows, because I think the Hawthorn have had the better the run of the play the last 5-6 minutes or so.
So Laird to give Adelaide a little bit of breathing space in this last quarter, and that is a beautiful strike of the footy. He makes no mistake. That is his second of the evening as Adelaide extend their lead back out to 8 points. 13-6, 84. Hawthorn 12-4, 76. 13 minutes gone, final term.
And 5 minutes to go at the MCG. It's the Dogs who extended their lead out to 22 points for goals through Hugo Hayden and Mitch Hannon.
Big goal from Jamara Ugle-Hagan. Rory Laird's some kind of player, isn't he, Parker?
Yeah.
Reliable.
And how long's he been doing it? I don't know how many games he's played now, but it's...
178 tonight,
yeah,
off the rookie list in 2012.
And he'd be as consistent as anybody over those 178 games.
West Adelaide product.
Yep. Local boy.
The Kenilworth Juniors.
Oh.
Footy team that doesn't have a suburb in Adelaide, funnily enough. There is no suburb called Kenilworth, at least not that I ever came across.
It looks like Murphy might have finally succumbed. And David McKay is warming up. And Murphy's taking that right boot off.
About half an hour after we wrapped him up for the night, Lockie Murphy's evening's done. He's added a goal and he's had a bit of an influence. Meanwhile, having influence is Burgoyne, who tumbles the Hawks inside the forward 50. Moore took it off McPherson, picked it up at ground level, threw it on the boot, just missed it away to the right. He is really energetic tonight, Dylan Moore. He's providing a spark for the Hawks. Margin 7 points the way of the Crows, 14 minutes gone in the final term.
Frampton with the kicking for the Crows, goes in the O'Brien direction, fisted away from him by Reeves. Forces a boundary throw in between wing and half forward for Hawthorn.
The Hawks have put Sean Burgoyne right in the thick of it, right in the middle. He's on ball.
So the umpire flicks the ball back into play. The umpire's found a holding free kick. And looks like it'll go the Crows' way. Everyone's a little bit unsure, but it's going to O'Brien.
They need to stick their arm out which way the ruck free kicks are going a little bit sooner, because all the players stand around and go, yeah, we know it's a free kick, but which way? Because we've got no idea.
So O'Brien kicks Adelaide to half forward. Standing in front is O'Brien for the Hawks. And he takes the mark for Hawthorn at left half back.
Oh,
nice
boy.
kick down the line to Reeves, who marks just inside the centre square. Quick to dish it off to Bramble. We know he has a bit of dash, has a bounce, crosses 50, runs out of room, throws it on the boot towards the top of the square, spills out the back, and they've given away a free kick. And due date for the Crows will take the footy inside the defensive goal square.
Hate those unrealistic attempts when you're in the chance. All we want's an honest go then.
Especially 10 metres out from goal.
Oh.
Duday thumps it out toward the interchange for Adelaide. O'Brien in the pack, reaches over the top of Frost, takes it at ground level as well. Handball off to Lynch. Frost interfered with that and then got it away to Shields. Shields a handball to Wingard, 40 metres out, puts the step on, puts it on the left boot, sends it to full forward. Lewis Arise can't mark. Free kick going to Hawthorn. The free kick will go to the Hawks in the goal square. And Mitch Lewis has the opportunity to pull the margin back to a point from point-blank range. He thumps it into the second tier of an empty Docklands Stadium. And again, the Hawks close in on the Crows. 16 minutes gone, final term. Hawthorn 13-5, 83. Adelaide 13-6, 84.
We often get credit of the umpires. I think this is the most difficult game in the world to umpire of any invasion sport, and I think they've been spot on. And some of those which I've been really annoyed about in other games over this weekend and the previous weekend, they've actually applied the the accurate assessment of that law, that push and the shove at times when they're pretending to go for the ball or before they go for the ball has been adjudicated correctly today, and we've got a game because of it. It's been fantastic.
Joe, I'll give you time to research this, but when was the last time a team played in 2 draws in a row?
Good question.
Great question, Berkey.
So, meanwhile, David McKay has been subbed into the game for Adelaide. Murphy is out from the restart. The Hawks win the clearance. Grimshaw stands in the way, though. The Adelaide still with a chance. It is Scholl who sends Adelaide inside 50. And taking the mark is McHenry. He's about 40 metres out from goal. 45-degree angle. Does he have the journey?
Well, everyone from the bench is yelling out, have a shot, so they think he's got the distance.
But it was good the way they did that, wasn't it? That was a convincing forward effort, movement of the lead, kick to the leader. He should finish us off with a goal.
So McHenry, one of the young guns for the Adelaide Crows. The kick is on its way. It has the journey. Yes, it does. What a kick from McHenry. Extends Adelaide's lead back out to 7 points. They lead this one 14-6-90 to Hawthorn, 13-5, 83, 18 minutes played, final term.
Well, those people on the bench, they know their teammates, they know their players. Really well done by McHenry. Went back from 45 metres out and put it straight through the middle. His Hawthorn defender, he just took a bit of a gamble and played in front, probably too far in front. It's about 10 metres in front of McHenry, but I think it was it Brodie Smith coming off the wing? We know that if he's going to kick the ball forward, well, it's going to carry a fair way. Joel, got an answer for me?
Yes, round 15 and 16, 2017, GWS drew with Geelong 10-8-68, and then Hawthorn 15-9-97 to 14-13-97.
Thank you.
So a couple of years, but it has been done. GWS featuring a lot of those draws as well. They seem to quite like them. Hawks, of course, drew with Melbourne last week, and they're 7 points down here, but they take it away from the restart. Warple combines with Mitchell, now to Bramble, now to the run of Wingard, stumbling as he goes inside the 50, caught holding the ball. Schonberg ran him down. Chad Wingard was on his way to the ground anyway. Here's Rory Laird. Kenilworth Footy Club in the suburb of St Mary's in the south of Adelaide as well, down near Edwardstown in the southern suburbs. Thanks to Andrea back in the studio for jumping onto that one. Here's Keys at halfback for Adelaide. 7 point margin to the Crows as we tick toward time on here in this term. Reeves out-bodies O'Brien. Did well. Arms outstretched above his head. Pulls the mark in for the Hawks right in front of the interchange gates.
Margin 7 points. Entering time on of this final term as Reeves kicks Hawthorn towards half forward. Off hands. Keys comes through for the Crows. He can't collect. Burgoyne has a go. He can't gather it either. It's a hot footy here at half forward for Hawthorn. Mitchell goes in and has a go. It spills out to Warple. Kicks a little grubby kick inside 50. First to meet it, though, is Smith for the Crows. And runs away from Lewis. Has a bounce. And then nice kick finds McKay, the medical substitute. Handballs off to Schonberg, who gives it to McHenry, who kicks Adelaide into attack. Tex Walker in a one-on-one, and he's got it. You back Taylor Walker every day of the week to take a mark like that. Read it well. Outbodied Hardigan, and he will have a shot on goal to extend Adelaide's lead to 13 points from about 30 metres out directly in front.
Hasn't been a big second half for Tex. He kicked one out on the full in the third, but he did all his work early and got himself on the scoreboard. This would be a really important goal.
So Taylor Walker, 484th goal of his career, and he splits the middle. So Adelaide, 15-6-96, Hawthorn, 13-5-83, margin 13 points, 21 minutes gone, final term.
Well, it'll be an unbelievably great effort, if you like, if Hawthorn were able to. I think that the scales have tipped strongly in the favour of the Crows, and they've tipped because of the work rate across the ground, both back and forward. They've run it out extremely well from their back half. They've used it better, more effectively going in the front half, and people like Walker, when they've been in a position to do what they should do, have actually optimised that result. So it's been a terrific game. I've enjoyed the quality of the contest and the skill level. and the closeness of the scores has been great.
Full time at the MCG, top of the table clash, and it's the Doggies, a 20-point win, 13-7-85 to 9-11-65.
So the Dogs will go top of the table with half a game in hand over Melbourne after that result. So a change at the top of the AFL ladder, and of course Geelong still to play this weekend as well. From the restart, Crows by 13 points. Chase Jones fell over. Paul Seedsman went looking for him with the handball. Mitchell ran interference for the Hawks, and now they've got possession. Howe sweeps the handball infield to Warple at centre half forward, who had a run at it but was taken down by McKay. So both medical substitutes are out there. McKay being activated for Adelaide in the place of Murphy. Burgoyne in the place of Cousins for the Hawks. Warple kicks to full forward. Big rise from McAvoy, but coming across to fist it out was guess who? Tom Doedee for Adelaide, who's been prolific tonight, and will have a throw in deep forward for the Hawks, left forward pocket. They trail by 13 at the 22-minute mark of the last.
So McAvoy and O'Brien to contest this one. It spills to O'Meara. He coughs it up, and now Seedsman runs away with it for the Crows. Long kick towards the broadcast wing. Coming back with the flight of the ball, Fogarty, and then dishes off the hands to Walker. Has nobody inside 50. Keys is going to run on to this one. He's got a bit of space over Granger Barras, who tackles him in the goal square. The ball spills to Frost. Handballs backwards to Granger Barras, and Hawthorn could breathe a sigh of relief as Granger Barras hits Hardwick at left half-back.
Hardwick chips over the top, finds Phillips. Phillips now goes looking for Mitchell. He and Laird both misread the footy. Butts got in there for Adelaide. Hacks it off the ground now. Brockman inside the forward 50 for the Hawks. Kelly had a moment of uncertainty, but got the footy away to Doedee. To Laird, to Butts, who curls one up the broadcast side wing. Lynch had a couple to beat, spilt to Fogarty for the Crows. Handball off to Seedsman, who kicks the Crows to right half forward. A bouncing ball awkwardly for Hardigan, sat up for Walker. Hardigan straight on top of him. And we'll have a ball up near the numbers of the 50. Adelaide into attack, 52 metres out from their goal, 15 in from the boundary at right half forward. The Crows 15-6-96. Hawthorn 13-5-83. Adelaide with 2 goals consecutively to steady after Hawthorn got within a point a couple of times here in this term. Burgoyne wrenches it away from the stoppage, kicks up the wing, looking for McAvoy. Bruce goes in, McPherson got in his back, and a Hawthorn free kick from the AFL logo.
So time running out for Hawthorn. They need to get a hurry on. They need to kick at least 3 goals to win this one. So Bruce assessing his options. Handballs inboard to Burgoyne, who has a bit of space inside the centre square. He kicks Hawthorn into attack and goes to a dangerous spot. Frampton with the fist against Kajitsky, and the Crows mop it up through Jones, who kicks across the face of goal where Seedsman marks in the right back pocket.
Should have been good at that, haven't they? They brought it out so well.
Seedsman chips short to Sloane. He marks just inside the boundary line. Still inside defensive 50. Sloane just kicks it out of there, down the wing, front spot O'Brien for the Hawks, who marks. 2 kicks from goal. He handballs off to Bramble, who can send Hawthorn back inside forward 50. And there's no one there for Hawthorn, and Doedee takes an uncontested mark in the end for the Crows.
Last 4 entries for Hawks, they've just bombed long. They've panicked. They're going, the time's running out. We're bombing the ball long, and that's not how you kick goals against this Adelaide defence.
9th intercept possession for Tom Doedee. Chips it short to Butts, and now to Kelly in the left back pocket for the Crows. 13 points the margin of Adelaide. 26 minutes gone here in this final term. Kick up the line is knocked out of play. It'll be thrown back in between the wing and half forward.
That's been the difference. Isn't it?
Yep.
The method going in and the easy, uncontested marks in their back half.
Adelaide with 3 goals 2 here in this final term. Hawthorn with 3 goals 1. Got to within a point a couple of times, but haven't been able to hit the front with any real vigour. And now the free kick after the kick from the stoppage was directed out toward the boundary line. He's paid for insufficient intent. Hardigan sends it to Wingard, who kicks up the wing, and O'Brien strong in the contest. Riley O'Brien for Adelaide takes the mark near the defensive 50.
Goes backwards to Frampton. He has the ball in front of Burgoyne. So Burgoyne kicks short to Schonberg. Still inside the defensive 50 are the Crows. Patiently working the ball out of defence as Schomburg kicks short to Smith. So left half back. Another short pass against the boundary line to McKay. So the Crows just working it out of defence. Long kick down the city side wing to a pack of players at half forward, and O'Brien takes a good mark over Reeves. That's a delightful contested mark. And now he's kicked backwards. All the way backwards to the medical substitute of McKay. So the Crows just wasting time off the clock. They lead by 13 points, 27 minutes played.
Kelly now for Adelaide, right on centre wing on the city side here at Docklands. An empty Docklands Stadium, Adelaide's home venue this evening.
The Crows haven't been front runners many games this season, but they've actually done it pretty well. They've coped really well. The Hawks has come at them pretty hard, but they've been smart with the way they've been using the footy.
Here's Riley O'Brien again for his third contested mark in a minute. Drops it on the right boot, sends it to the pocket. Himmelberg floats in, clutches it above his head in the left forward pocket. Elliot Himmelberg's got it 30 metres out, tight angle.
Marks inside 50, that's 15-7 in favour of the Adelaide Crows. At the end of the day, that's probably the stat that has made Adelaide win the game and Hawthorn lose the game.
And I reckon it would be about that uncontested in the back half in the alternately too. They've defended them so much better.
Himmelberg kicked one in the second term to this end and finishes things off for the Crows with a late goal at Docklands. Adelaide cracks the ton. It is only one of a handful of times they've done so this year. And they lead by 19 points, 16-6, 102. Hawthorn 13-5, 83. 29 minutes gone in the final term on Grandstand AFL.
Well, the conversion's been a revelation, hasn't it? It's something that our game has struggled with for as long as I can remember. But today, this afternoon, this evening, if you like, we've had some fabulous set shot round the corner as well as straight on the run as well as settled. It's been I've enjoyed that. I love the scoring. I'm not about, it doesn't matter little more scores as long as they score less. I hate that sort of stuff.
102-83.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Last time they played it was 102-99.
That's right.
So less than a minute to go in this one at Docklands Stadium. The Hawks win the clearance. Wingard just toes it off the deck to half forward. Bruce can't collect, coming through Kelly for the Crows. He's tackled and dispossessed, holding the ball, says the umpire, and it'll be Dylan Moore to take the free kick. He kicks to Bramble, a left half forward, just gets around one and then sprays the shot on goal out of bounds on the full. And it'll be Duday to take the ball for Adelaide.
That forward entry is something that
troubled them throughout the course of the evening. There wasn't too many troubles in the final term for Adelaide. The Crows challenged against the Hawks. They prevail by 19 points.
We're courageous, stronger, faster, and respected by our foes. Admiration of the nation, our determination shows. We're the pride of South Australia, we're the mighty Adelaide Crows.
They burst out of their blocks at their new home venue, the Crows. They kicked the first three of the game. Hawthorn kicked the next two. The Crows kicked the next two. And then they traded goals at the end of the first term and the second. Adelaide eventually holding sway. Hawthorn hit the front in the third term. But Adelaide run out winners 16-6, 102 to Hawthorn 13-5, 83.
Our skill and nerve will see us through. Our commitment never grows. We're the pride of South Australia. We're the mighty Adelaide Crows. Yes, the pride of South Australia. We're the mighty Adelaide Crows.
Normally that's met with a thundering roar of 40,000 at the Adelaide Oval here at Docklands tonight. It's met with silence as the players exchange pleasantries out in the middle. Adelaide adds its name to the winners in round 19 in the AFL season. They join Port Adelaide, North Melbourne, Brisbane, West Coast and the Western Bulldogs, the top of the table Western Bulldogs, as the winners thus far in round 19. We're with you for about another 10 or so minutes. We'll get the song from the Adelaide Rooms and wrap up everything here from Docklands and take a look ahead to what's to come in the interesting Sunday of football as well. The goal kickers here at Docklands. Taylor Walker kicked 4 for the Crows in a big return to form for Tex. He's got 46 on the season now. Lockie Murphy kicked 2, Darcy Fogarty kicked 2, Rory Laird kicked 2, Elliot Himmelberg kicked 2 for the Crows. Singles to Ben Keys, Ned McHenry, Tom Lynch and Brodie Smith. For Hawthorn, Mitch Lewis led the way with 3, Tom Phillips kicked 2. Singles for the Hawks to Brockman, Moore, Kajitsky, Bruce, Warple and Tom Mitchell. 16-6, 102 Adelaide, Hawthorn 13-5, 83. So Adelaide going to 15th on the ladder. Their 6th win of the season takes them to 6-12. Hawthorn 4-1-14 on the season, and they stay 17th with North Melbourne picking up a win in 18th a little bit earlier on today. We'll also get a wrap from Ned Hall of the Olympics action a little bit later before we let you go as well. Ned has been keeping a close eye on things throughout the course of the day, so we'll update you with everything that's happened in Tokyo throughout the day as well. A 19-point win to the Crows here at Docklands. Nathan Burke and David Parkin. It was an entertaining evening at the footy with all our friends here under the roof.
It certainly was, and you'd expect Adelaide to win the home games, and that's what they've done. So, no, really, really well impressed by Adelaide. They've lost their last 4 games. They lose a home game. They come over here to Melbourne. They're playing Hawthorn, who last week played the top team and drew with them. So they're coming in with some good form. But I really like the way that they played this game. Their defence was really strong, particularly in the air. And then when the ball hit the ground as well, they were really strong in mopping that up. And going forward, 15 marks inside their forward 50 shows that they used the ball really well going inside forward 50 as well. So it was a real complete effort by the Crows. And when the Hawks got back to within 1 point early in that last quarter, you could probably think, it's getting a little bit tough and, Hawks are going to steamroll us on the way home. They didn't. They rebounded again. So if I'm the Adelaide coach, I'm really loving the fact that they were challenged in that last quarter and then they found something else as well with this young group and went another level again over the top of Hawthorn and ran out pretty convincing winners in the end.
Yeah, that's a terrific summary. I thought I hadn't run the raffle when I got allocated this game. I must admit, I thought I'd see my old mob in Hawthorn play and see what they've got to. But it was a terrific game from our point of view. I think there's probably less than 100 people in the stadium to witness, and I feel privileged that we actually were here to see the way I think Australian footy should be played. I think all that you said's right. They were a little better in the contest when it had to be won.
Yep.
Adelaide did that better. The ruck was terrific. The big fella, O'Brien, has come to the party. He looks like he's doing the job in the way that they want it done. They defended well in the sense that there was always a contest when it went in. Wasn't easy goals. Some kicked by Adelaide, but hardly an easy goal kicked by the Hawks. So I think Adelaide, in terms of the development where they're going, and on the back of what you called was Hawthorn's good form last week, they would walk away pretty satisfied with not only the game today, but the development they've got individually and collectively to this point over the last month.
It's been an interesting couple of weeks for Matthew Nix Parko, and I guess the challenge in coaching is they'd lost 4 games in a row, and they started the season, of course, with that barnstorming win against Geelong, and there was all this energy around what Adelaide were doing. Taylor Walker was on fire. As a young team, whether it's fatigue, whether it's just the ebbs and flows of football, they lost 4 in a row. To come out tonight and take advantage of the opportunity after a difficult week on the road with the upheaval around moving to Melbourne throughout the course of the week, I think for a young team that's going to have so many players who continue their footy journey together, that's sort of one of those, it's not a massive scalp. It's not a that win that you'll remember forever in your career, but it could be sort of a, just a significant little step on the road for Adelaide.
To come at a time to reinforce their improvement. And if you just get beaten today, if they go under even by a goal, a lot will be forgotten in the sense of where they got to but couldn't get the 4 points. By getting the 4 points, I don't think it's all that significant, but we did win a game that we were challenged for. Well, a couple of times during the game they got behind and Hawthorn looked like they might get away with it, but each time they collectively just lifted their game across the board, and in the finish they were absolutely deserved winners. And I've suggested already, thoroughly enjoyed the quality, the method that they use, the talent that they've got, the speed over the ground. They've got aerialists in each area of the ground, and they took some terrific marks today. Really, really good, strong marks, which I'd love to come footy. It's what makes our game so good, is to see those sort of things. So, all up, they'll be thankful have to come here. I don't think they were very pleased to come here in the first place, but it was a great game.
I don't think we can underestimate the effort that Adelaide Crows showed today. They've lost their last 4, but by an average of 41 points. And I think it's really easy for a young side in the back end of the season to just kind of let the wheels fall off. And for everything that they've had to deal with during the week to come here, as we've said, they were challenged multiple times and they could have fallen over again, but they really stuck to the task. And I think they'd be really super proud with the effort and hunger they showed out there today.
Absolutely. And look, we'll give the votes later on, but, the senior players played really well, but McHenry to step up and kick a really important goal just as Hawthorn got back within a point or so, and Murphy kicked a goal. So there's a little bit of the changing of the guard. Keys was good around the middle with Adelaide, so it shows that Himmelberg kicked 2 goals there at the end. A little bit of the changing of the old Adelaide Crows guard. These new ones coming through that are showing some glimpses of really good form.
Yeah, their new home venue here at Docklands. It'll be a pretty happy change rooms, I'd have thought, here for the Crows as well. Let's venture downstairs and hear the song. So the Crows very happy after their 6th win of the season. Taylor Walker was one of their star performers. 4 goals to have 46 on the season. He caught up with Fox Footy after the win.
A wonderful performance from the boys and mad week. How proud are you of this group and the way that they were able to stand up to Hawthorn tonight?
You think of words like resilience and character. Obviously, on Tuesday we got told we're coming over here, then we're going to Queensland, then we're staying in Adelaide. Then we ended up coming here, so to come out and put a 4-quarter effort together is outstanding for our young group. A great individual performance from yourself and Rory being leaders of the group, and the fact you are such a young team playing away from home and the weird week that you've had. Did you feel like you really needed to stand up? We just set ourselves for a great contest. Hawthorn, they drew with the top side last week, so we knew we were going to be in for a contest, and these young blokes keep Sloaney, Lynchy, D-Mac, myself's pretty young, so we're enjoying jumping behind those guys. The ball movement tonight was really good at times, really fast and taking on risks. That was a focus coming in. How happy are you to be able to achieve that? It makes it easier for me, Sarah, up front, so we'll keep working on our ball movement and keep trying to come back through the corridor and play some exciting footy for our fans. So it was a great effort tonight. All right, well, we don't know where you're off to next. We don't know where you're supposed to play the Western Bulldogs. Hopefully you can get home and see the family really soon. Thank you. Cheers.
Taylor Walker with Sarah Jones, thanks to Fox Footy. So the Crows, 19-point winners here at Docklands over the way in the at the MCG. The Bulldogs, 20-point winners over Melbourne this evening. Plenty happening in Tokyo as well. With an Olympic update, here's Ned Hall.
Well, it's been a fascinating night in the pool. Some very impressive performances from the Australians. Not surprisingly, being completed by the women's 4x100 metre freestyle relay team. Dominant performance to cruise to victory in the second of the heats there and comfortably move through to the final. Earlier on this evening, 2 Australians were involved in dead heats. Elijah Winnington and Jack McLaughlin dead heated in the men's 400 metre freestyle heat, but They go through to the final as the joint first fastest, and in the women's 100-metre fly, it was Emma McKeown who dead-heated with her Chinese opponent Zhang Yufei. Those two are the joint fastest into the semi-finals of that event, with Brianna Throssell also through 5th in the heat, but 16th fastest overall. In the men's 400 metres individual medley, Brendan Smith set a personal best and also an Australian and Oceania record to win his heat. He's the fastest qualifier for the final. Sebon Lee, though, unfortunately, despite coming second in his heat in the same event, he didn't make it through. And disappointment as well in the men's 100-metre breaststroke. Isaac Stubblety-Cook, the youngster who plenty of people had very high hopes for this Olympics, came second in his heat but was 22nd fastest overall and does not progress. Neither does Matthew Wilson. Results from earlier on today: Australia went down 4-2 to Sweden in the football. Sam Kerr scored twice but missed a penalty, and it all comes down to Australia's final group stage match against the USA. In the other team sports, Canada beat Australia 7-1 in the softball. The Kookaburras beat Japan by 5-3 in the men's hockey, and then Australia beat Canada 8-5 in the women's water polo. No medal for Australia in the men's road race. Richie Port was the best there, 48th overall. Richard Carapaz of Ecuador got a deserved gold medal in that event. In the tennis, wins for John Millman and Ash Barty and Storm Sanders in the women's doubles. And in the rowing today, standout performances in the women's and men's fours. Both those crews straight through to the finals, having finished first in their heats. Plenty more to come tomorrow, and that's the latest from Tokyo.
Looking forward to it, Ned. Thank you, Ned Hall, with an Olympics update. The Crows winners 16-6-102 over Hawthorn, 13-5-83 here at Docklands. Taylor Walker with 4 goals to lead the way for the Crows. Berkey, the votes on the ABC Footballer of the Year.
Yes, very quickly. Taylor Walker, 1 vote for 4 goals. Riley O'Brien, 23 possessions. I'll give him 2 votes. And Rory Laird, 3 votes for 36 possessions, 20 contested, 10 score involvements and 8 centre clearances.
A couple of goals in there too for Rory Laird.
Yeah, they're not as important as centre clearances.
2 of his 18 in his career from 178 games. Fairly handy stuff. A nice evening for Rory Laird. Berkey and Parko, pleasure being with you tonight.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, don't forget Frampton and Fogarty. They were 2 that I saw tonight that can really play.
Very good. Thanks to Jess Webster alongside me as well. To Stu pushing the buttons here. Andrea back in the studio. A full wrap of this game tomorrow with Aaron Bryans on SA Grandstand from 12 on ABC Radio Adelaide, South Australia and Broken Hill. Thanks for your company. Crows winners on Saturday Night Footy.